Oh, thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Orange County School Board's work session, which has been scheduled today, Tuesday, May 13th, for the purpose of discussing facilities update and capital program needs. The public will not have an opportunity to participate in this work session to provide public comment because this is not a regularly scheduled board meeting. No action will be taken, and there will be no public comment period in which the public normally addresses the school board on relevant topics that are related to the work of the board. Thank you so much for being with us here this morning. Member Salamanca, Member Ferrant, Member Douglas, Member Vanos, and Member Felder, and myself, Vice Chair Byrd, are all present. Member Gallo is on her way, and Chair Jacobs is absent today. As a reminder, board members will not be engaged in outside electronic communication during this meeting so that we can focus on the matters immediately before us. To my fellow board members and district staff, when speaking, please make sure that your microphone is turned on and you speak directly into it so our YouTube and Orange TV viewers can hear you clearly. Again, thank you so much for participating in or attending today's meeting. We are going to start this morning with a moment of silence and then the Pledge of Allegiance. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. This is a presentation we all look forward to every year. It kicks us off into our budget cycle process. I am thrilled with the work that Rory Salvini, our Chief Facilities Officer, has done and his team in bringing forth to the board an update on our facilities program, as well as looking forward into our needs and looking forward to the conversation the board will have around that. So I'm going to turn it over to Rory, and he will introduce his team.
Well, thank you, Dr. Vasquez, and good morning, Vice Chair Byrd and board members. We really appreciate you setting aside this time for a facilities update today. Before I start this morning, I do want to recognize Mr. Don Emmerman, who is seated off to my left over here. Don is a member of our Citizens Oversight Committee, and he is here today and will be here for a portion of the workshop. In the interest of time, I'm going to allow my staff members participating in today's presentation to introduce themselves when we get to their portion of the presentation. Also, as we will cover several different topics, we'll plan for discussion at logical discussion points in the presentation this morning. I want to start this morning by connecting our facilities goal to the district vision. We are focused on creating the conditions for students to be successful by providing a high-quality learning environment for every student every day, while allowing both students and staff to focus on academics. This slide depicts the key elements of our strategy, which include capital construction and maintenance and operational elements. The list on the left describes our capital construction strategy, which includes successfully opening new schools when needed, adding permanent capacity at schools with long-term needs, which in conjunction with our new schools will reduce reliance on portables, achieving functional equity with our latest prototypes through comprehensive renovations and our capacity enhancement projects at existing schools, and reducing repair requirements with appropriately timed comprehensive renovations and capital renewal projects. On the maintenance and operations side, we want to reduce the number of repair requirements and recently revamped our preventive maintenance organization and approach. We're also focused on reducing the number of school-generated work orders through more proactive identification of issues. Overall, this should allow a quicker response when system failures occur. On the custodial side, we employ a combination of inspections, training, and equipment support to maintain clean schools. Our capital program is designed to maintain and upgrade facilities over a projected 50-year life. The systems and subsystems that make up our buildings each have varying expected useful lives. Major components such as foundation and structure typically do not require renewal for the building's lifespan. However, other systems have shorter lifespans. Some may only need one renewal in the building's life, while others may require as many as 4 renewals before a building is replaced. Our program is designed to accomplish a comprehensive renovation approximately 25 years following construction or the last renovation. Our capital renewal program is designed to address those systems that need more frequent renewal. This slide summarizes the capital program elements discussed in our strategy. We provide additional needed capacity through new release schools and capacity enhancement projects that provide additional permanent classroom additions at campuses with long-term needs and no alternative for relief. Comprehensive needs is a broad category that includes the remaining priority from the list of 136, the 20 schools that were too new or recently renovated at the time the list was created to warrant inclusion on the list, which are denoted here as the pre-sales tax list, the renovation and remodeling requirements of facilities that are being repurposed for other needs, additional comprehensive needs at schools where the previously completed project did not address all needs, and finally the schools that were renovated or built in the earlier mid-2000s that will reach 25 years of age during our planning period. Our program also accounts for system renewals that are accomplished via the cap renewal program and are required separate from a comprehensive renovation, the renovation needs of our ancillary facilities, and the refresh of student technology devices and technology infrastructure. Before I turn the presentation over to my staff to provide details of our accomplishments and plans, I'll now discuss some aspects of the current environment that impact our program. We are fortunate to have enjoyed the support of Orange County residents and visitors with a half-cent sales surtax that has provided the ability for our district to accommodate growth and modernize our facilities. However, new residents arrive in the area we serve every day, and previously new facilities eventually require modernization or replacement. Although we're expecting a period of declining enrollment, there are still areas of growth in the county that create a demand for new schools. The additional school capacity requirements combined with the maintenance and renovation requirements of our 213 schools and additional support facilities comprising approximately 34 million square feet of building space are now estimated to require almost $8.5 billion over the next 10 years to provide and sustain the quality educational facilities needed to support the district's vision. As we'll discuss later in the presentation, the reduction in new capacity requirements has reduced our long-term capital needs by approximately $400 million from our previous projection. As we previously shared, construction costs have surged over the last few years. This slide depicts the increase in the average cost of a new elementary school since 2019 and includes summary information regarding other school levels. New school costs have more than doubled, and there is no evidence suggesting that the recent increase is temporary. There is a bright side to this chart, however, as we've recently received a price proposal for Site 126 that supports an assessment that we're back to a period of more normal cost escalation. These are the enrollment projections shared at the recent planning session. As mentioned during the session, although we are in a period of declining enrollment that is expected to extend for several years, there are still growing areas of the county. Nonetheless, as we'll share later in our presentation, fewer new schools will be needed. The fact that overall enrollment is declining while increasing in some areas of the county highlights the increasing issue of underutilized schools. The renovation plans that we'll share later are based on the current facility needs. We will modify these plans should the plan to address underutilized schools result in school consolidations. As was also discussed during the planning session, new home construction continues throughout Orange County. Currently, we have about 500 projects in our development inventory that are either in construction, planned, or platting stages, totaling 165,000 residential units. The circle identifies the areas with the most significant growth, and our new school plan reflects that. As the board is aware, we have made significant progress in addressing capacity needs since the inception of the half-cent sales surtax. This, combined with the enrollment projections on the previous slide, result in a program that is less focused on new schools. This slide compares the new schools completed over the past 10 years to our anticipated requirements for the next 10-year period. Fewer than half as many new schools are required, and the plan includes 2 fewer new schools than last year's plan as a result of the declining enrollment projections. There is also a reduced requirement for replacement facilities in our future comprehensive renovation program. Previously, the majority of program resources were engaged in construction of prototypical schools to satisfy both new capacity and facility replacement requirements. Going forward, a significant greater share of resources will be engaged in renovation and remodeling of existing facilities. This slide helps to illustrate the changing project environment. The blue bars depict the cost of new school comprehensive renovation and capital renewal projects in progress at the same point each year as reported to Cove. The dashed yellow line tracks the number of projects, while the solid yellow line indicates the number of sites impacted by those projects. We're busy, with almost twice as many projects at 3 times as many sites as we were managing in 2015. And this chart doesn't include several district-wide initiatives such as expanding card reader access at schools, providing shade covers for all elementary school youth lots, creating inclusive restrooms, and other similar initiatives. At this point, I'm ready to turn the presentation over to my team to provide details of recent accomplishments and plans. And before I do, I'll pause to entertain any questions or discussion relative to the information that I've shared to this point.
Thank you, Rory. We have Member Gallo queued up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a couple, well, first off, can we change the chart? Unless we're going to invite Member Castro-Dental back and Pam Gould, because the map is showing different board members on page 6. So we were just curious if we can make them sit through this meeting instead of...
Absolutely. I really apologize for that
No,
oversight. There's a version of it.
I'm joking. We were having a good laugh up here. I want to talk about, on page 9, the new communities that we're projecting. So I see in this map is kind of confusing to me because it says East Orange and it's pointing towards District 1, but Everby's in District 2 because that's Lake Nona. I think Meridian Park is in, that's all District 2. I do have 2 communities that are being built. One is on the corner of 419 and Lake Pickett Road, that the house is already going up, and then the Grow has started to break ground, but I don't see the Grow or that community listed in District 1.
Yeah, I'm actually going to ask Tommy Moore to come up and comment as he prepared his slides.
And I believe there's a community where the Webb Honey used to own property, and it's already zoned for housing, and they sold that property. So I don't know how quickly it'll be built, but they'll be building out in Bithlo as well.
So this map just circles the main areas where we have the largest, but the Grow is on there. If you look in the District 1 area, you can see the big dark navy area in the top.
Okay, so that's the
Grow, yeah.
Okay. I just didn't see it listed.
It's not, I just highlighted specific areas, but the Grow is up there. It's, that one area in District 2 is just very huge and daunting. Also, we've got Lake Nona and Horizon West and what's happening in Apopka. Those are the big ones. The other one I don't have listed on there that is also another area is South I Drive, which is where you can see the District 4 kind of in between where Horizon West is and Lake Nona right in the middle there. We have a lot of growth there as well.
And there's another one that is being built. I think that this will be completed very quickly. It's not a huge housing development right now. I think it's zoned for East Lake. It's kind of closer to Columbia, but I think still probably far enough away that they would have to
I think it's one of those smaller polygons to the east of the big, where the Grow is.
Okay. All right. So my poor little District 1's just staying stagnant. That's good. All right. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Tommy.
You're just jealous, Member Gallo, of those of us that are circled with the highest amount of growth coming to our
I still
areas.
have the largest land mass. So
Yes.
buckle up. You never know what's going to happen.
I understand, but, these areas, it looks like we're just the highest, biggest areas of concern for highest significant growth. But yes, definitely, we know. We know you have lots of room to grow out there, for sure. Someone else was queued in, but it looks like they decided you're good. Okay. Member Salamanca?
Just to clarify the colors themselves, so blue versus red, is that just red is more dense?
No, I guess that, yeah, let me go back.
As District 2 is covered in colors over here in District 2. I just
Yeah,
wanna-
I guess the legend got obscured in this map, but the darker the color is the one that's kind of like the planning, the long range. The red is there are projects that are currently underway, that there's construction going on, and the green is they're about to become underway. Now, these statuses change very quickly, so this probably is already out of date compared to what's out there on the ground right now.
Got it.
We go out and, as you know, drive this whole area and update these statuses annually.
So that big blue one that you're talking about here, that's the Sunbridge 2? What's the blue area?
Yes, right. That's Sunbridge.
Okay.
Yep,
All right, thank you.
as well. Yeah,
Thank you. That's it. We're ready to move on.
Okay, well, we'll follow this agenda to review recent accomplishments and communicate program needs in the categories on the previous slide. We'll first review our maintenance and custodial operations and then discuss current and planned projects in each of the program elements. Other topics are indicated on the slide. As I noted, we'll pause at appropriate points for questions and discussions. I'll now turn the presentation over to my staff, beginning with our Maintenance Director, Jonathan Earls, who will provide an update on maintenance and custodial operations.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Earls, and I will be providing an update on our maintenance and custodial teams and the work we are doing to support the day-to-day facilities needs at our schools. It takes a large multidisciplinary team to meet the needs of OCPS. Our maintenance team is responsible for taking care of all the district's buildings and infrastructure, 34 million square feet spread across approximately 250 locations. Most building maintenance services are delivered by 3 regional maintenance areas, but we also have specialized teams responsible for specific functions and disciplines. Our district-wide asset protection team maintains all of the district's safety and security systems. Our grounds department maintains 5,200 acres and manages district pest control programs. We have centralized teams managing preventive maintenance, roofing, and HVAC automation systems. All of the maintenance functions are performed by a combination of OCPS employees and contracted vendors. This allows us to ensure we are delivering the required services efficiently and consistently. Our custodial organization is responsible for providing a clean and welcoming learning environment. Every afternoon, as the school day comes to a close, our custodians are just getting started. Every night, they ensure that each and every classroom is cleaned, ready to welcome students in the morning. While Facilities Custodial Services directly manages custodians at high schools and ancillary sites, they provide essential support to all schools with training, custodial equipment and supplies, and inspections. This past year has been a busy one for the maintenance team. We formalized our comprehensive preventive maintenance plan and continue to focus on strengthening it. Our preventive maintenance program includes all of the statutorily required inspections and services. This includes services like fire alarm testing and inspections, essential services that keep our schools safe and in compliance with all applicable regulations. Additionally, this year we centralized HVAC and electrical preventive maintenance and roofing. The more we invest in maintaining our equipment and key systems, the less likely we are to experience critical failures that impact the learning environment. We want to find and fix facility problems before students and teachers know they exist. Another significant change for our team and the district as a whole was the implementation of a modern work order management system for facilities. Now, every maintenance technician has access to a live system from a phone or tablet. They have better information in a format that's easier to use, allowing them to spend less time in the system and more time with hands on their tools doing the work that directly impacts the learning environment. Most importantly, the new work order system is more customer focused. We have roughly 1,100 school-based users in the system: principals, bookkeepers, deans, head custodians. Each one of them has complete visibility into all of the requests they've submitted. They can see comments and action taken by maintenance technicians. They can send messages within the work order, and they can also submit new work orders, including photos, using any Apple or Android device. We will be working this summer to bring more custodians into the system to report things they see, to improve our responsiveness and allow teachers and administrators to focus on student learning. Lastly, we've been continuing to work with Orange Technical College on areas where we can partner. This year, we've been able to assist with providing work-study opportunities for OTC students, and we've also hired OTC graduates as employees. Staffing continues to be our biggest challenge in the maintenance organization and is going to be a continued area of focus. Each year, the maintenance team responds to and completes approximately 80,000 work orders. These include corrective or reactive maintenance, which are repairs to damaged equipment and systems, and preventive maintenance, which is initiated by the maintenance department in conformance with our comprehensive preventive maintenance plan. This slide shows our performance on completed reactive repair work orders for the last 3 years. Our average days to complete is an overall measure of our time to close out reactive work orders. This includes all repairs. We have maintenance staff responding to emergencies every hour of every day, and we also have larger repair projects assigned to contractors that may stay open for a few months while the work goes through bidding, permitting, and contracting processes. While this is a key metric we monitor and work to improve, the average shown here is fairly consistent with the median work order response time reported by the Council of Great City Schools. You'll notice our projected work order completion numbers are noticeably higher this year across the board. Our new work order system has made it much easier to submit and complete work orders. Additionally, we've added a lot more users who are now submitting more work orders than ever. We are seeing more submissions, but this is ultimately a good thing as our reported issues are getting addressed. This shows work order trends, broken down by discipline. One group I would like to highlight is asset protection on the left side of the chart. They are continuing the trend of notable increases year over year for repairs to the district's safety and security systems. This includes equipment like access control card readers, security cameras, and door locks. OCPS has invested and continues to invest heavily in ensuring we have the appropriate systems in place to keep schools and students safe. Expanded systems have a corresponding expanded repair requirement. This is just one example of one of the reports that is available to the schools now in our new work order system. They have the capability to pull a lot more data depending on their needs, by location, even down to a specific room, or by date, status, work type. We have a lot more information available to schools in our new system. This is an overview of how our staffing levels and square footage have trended historically. While we expect square footage growth to level off due to changes in enrollment, it's still a significant challenge to meet the needs of our district. I should also note that the staffing levels illustrated by the blue bars are our approved staffing level each year. Our vacancy rate in maintenance has been between 9 and 14% over the last 3 years. We have not been able to keep up with stronger wage growth in the Central Florida job market for many of our jobs and facilities. Certain job titles are significantly impacted. Our vacancy rate in HVAC and plumbing are 18 and 25% respectively. You may notice a slight decline in position count in recent years. Our overall position count has decreased by 7 over the last 4 years. The majority of these positions were clerical and support positions. We continue to leverage technology to improve the efficiency of our organization. As that happens, we reinvest salary budgets associated with obsolete positions into technical positions that are directly supporting schools to help us make progress towards our goals. As mentioned, our vacancy rate in the maintenance department continues to be a significant challenge. This shows an overview of the number of positions we've had vacant as of April 1st in each of the last 5 years. We've been focused on improving our fill rate and have made progress overall, but we still have jobs where it's exceedingly difficult to fill positions. We typically rely more on contractors when we can't hire staff to ensure that we meet the needs of the schools, to ensure that the needs of the schools are still being met. The figures shown above are for maintenance jobs exclusively. Since the district moved to a $15 an hour minimum wage, the custodial vacancy rate has averaged around 1%. This slide illustrates our maintenance expenditures on a per square foot basis relative to our peers. We've been able to maintain our existing service levels very efficiently. While we do have recent resource constraints, we benefit significantly from the work completed in the capital program. Switching back to our custodial team and some of their areas of focus this year, training continues to be a significant priority to ensure that our staff has the training they need to be highly effective. Another significant focus this year has been equipment. We've updated our equipment repair process and invested heavily in replacing obsolete and outdated equipment to ensure that our custodians have the high-quality tools they need to clean efficiently. The last bullet on this slide highlights employee satisfaction amongst custodians in our organization as measured by the district's annual employee stakeholder survey of how likely employees are to recommend OCPS as an employer. A score of plus 65 is an excellent result, especially considering the size and geographic dispersion of our custodial team. Lastly, I wanted to share some summary metrics on our custodial department. Our team has increased the rate of inspections, and we are seeing an increase in quality. This year, we implemented some changes to our post-inspection reporting and follow-up with school administration to ensure we are quickly identifying the areas where additional supports are needed and partnering with schools to implement corrective actions to improve the cleanliness of the school. On a final note, I've shared a lot of data and talked about our programs, but at the end of the day, all of this work is being done by our OCPS team. The district employs around 1,300 custodians and 400 maintenance team members, and all of them have decided to put their time and talents to work in service of public education. It is their collective effort that enables us to continue to move forward and improve the services and ultimately the learning environment. This completes my update on our maintenance and custodial organization. I'll now pause for any questions or comments.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. Member Ferrant.
Thank you. I just wanted to touch on the work order system, and just the new system in general has been a huge plus. I've heard from teachers and administrators who say that it's much more helpful, efficient. They're able to go back in and check and see what's going on and see where the status, if there's something that they need to do. So I think whoever designed that, if that was our team or we bought that from somewhere, do we know if that was something?
So we work with Facilitron, which is our partner for facility rentals for the last few years, and we've kind of expanded on that partnership, and part of that has been the implementation of the new work order system. So it's been a kind of a team effort between the OCPS team and Facilitron to implement the system as it exists today.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate the work that was done to listen to teachers and administrators, because I know back in the beginning, the facilities goal, one of the things says that they, for everyone to be able to work in an environment where they're not having to think about facilities really. And so we still have, a ways to go. There's still things to be done. But I think this new work order system has been a huge help. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ferrant. And I will completely agree with that. I appreciate you hearing the teachers and hearing the administrators in the schools and really finding a solution for that, because it has been definitely positive. I have a question about slide 21. If we can look at that one more time. We have a low maintenance cost per square foot as we see in this chart, but you also on slide 20 talk about our high vacancy rate and our need to pay maintenance more. So do you think that the low maintenance cost per square feet in the chart from 21 is, result of us not paying as much as we probably should for maintenance, or is it inefficiency?
So, I mean, salaries are certainly a driver. You know, when you look at our maintenance department, the largest expenditure is the salaries of our in-house team. You know, so that's certainly a component. You know, but we also continue to focus on, you know, the efficiency of our own operations. And we do benefit significantly from the work completed by the capital program, you know, with the investments in new schools and capital renewal of systems. But yeah, salaries continue to be a significant, you know, area of concern for us.
I think we previously highlighted that we probably have an average age of facilities that's one of the youngest in the state, and that certainly contributes to our ability to maintain schools at a lower cost.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also curious to know some of the ones that have higher, well, I do know for some of these school districts have definitely older buildings, but some of the ones that have higher maintenance cost, if they are seeing the staff vacancies like we are within their district, are they paying more? Do we know? Or is our pay kind of what the going rate is in the state for?
So I'll let Jonathan, we actually did a salary study earlier this year. We didn't mention that. I'll let Jonathan, he's more familiar with the results of it, but we actually did accomplish that.
Yeah, so you'll notice some districts, for example, Seminole County has done a salary project in recent years to kind of address some of the challenges they've had with filling positions, so you'll see some variation there. You'll also see, you know, when you look at large districts, you know, the districts in South Florida, just relative to the market they're in, pay at a higher rate, you know, when we're looking at Palm Beach and Broward and Miami-Dade. So there's a, you know, significant difference there in salaries. But yeah, even looking at Central Florida, you know, some of these districts have undergone salary projects in recent years, and that partially explains some of the higher costs.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Member Vanos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you so much for this presentation. This is a group that gets overlooked a lot, but so important to our schools. So thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. My first question is on page 14, when we're talking about the grounds, is the grounds department, are they also part of the online management, work order management system?
They are. It's the same system used for grounds and pest control requests.
And is there a way for, let's say, so I'm thinking about grounds in particular, is there a way for community members to, if they notice something in their community or in their neighborhood that's kind of attached to our schools or surrounding our schools, where they could put in their input about a concern they have about maintenance of grounds on our OCPS property?
Currently, there is not direct access to the system outside of OCPS. I think, you know, typically those community concerns are either relayed to either the schools themselves,
board members,
or board members, unfortunately, or sometimes our facilities public relations team, and those teams get and that information gets relayed. But there is not currently an external facing part of the tool.
Okay. And I understand why we wouldn't have maybe community members kind of internal to our system, but I do think if there was a way that people could kind of report some of the concerns they have or share pictures of something they're seeing in their neighborhood, I think that would be just good information to have, just because we are.
So, and I'm not the expert on this, but we are expanding the use of the Let's Talk system that I think is being primarily used for transportation issues right now. So that's definitely going to be expanded, and we're working on that expansion right now, which would provide a vehicle for individuals to interact and ask questions and report issues.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. Sorry, I have a couple more questions. I just wanted to say, okay, and then also with the work order management system, I agree with Member Ferrant and Member Byrd. It's sounds like it is such a no-brainer and so helpful for schools. Have you gotten feedback from the schools, like in a survey or data, about how they're experiencing the system?
We have. I don't have the results included here because we just did it a week or two ago, but we did push out a survey to all Facilitron school-based users, so everybody in the system at the school level, regardless of their role, to try to get some of that feedback. And overall, the feedback has been, substantially positive. There are, a couple issues that we want to follow up on just to make sure we're providing, the best experience for them. But the feedback has been positive.
Okay, great. I also just want to say I love the partnership with OTC, the work study opportunities and hiring graduates and just bringing it full circle. I think that's, sometimes it's, we're really focused on what our jobs are and we forget that we're part of a larger system and what can we do to strengthen the system as a whole. So I love that you're all doing that. So thank you. And then the last question that I had was page 19. You spoke about leveraging technology to improve the efficiency of the organization. And I don't know if that's just the management system, but I did just want to just ensure that as we, are using technology, that we're also not forgetting that sometimes technology isn't always 100% accurate and that sometimes just being in the school, and I'll just give a quick example. I was, getting feedback from a school about an air conditioning issue, and the technology was like saying that the air conditioning was working, but I actually just went to the school and it wasn't. And so just making sure that I know we want to be efficient, and I think that we can use technology to our benefit, but also just ensuring that, it comes down to like the person being in the place to, make sure we get, that we're really addressing the needs.
Absolutely. I mean, that has been our focus. When we talk about some of the positions that have become obsolete, these are positions in our office, and then the positions we created are positions that are going to be in the schools to be doing the repair work, but also see firsthand what they're experiencing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. I completely agree with the OTC partnership. Thank you for that. It's so important. Member Salamanca.
Thank you, Chair. So back to page 21, which is where we were talking about before, I kind of have the similar question that Member Byrd has, which is great that we're having some level of efficiency, but sometimes that cost reduction really does come from just lower salaries. And so it would be helpful if we could have the Central Florida district equivalent on salary comparisons. I just want to get a sense of where we stand with some of our, especially the ones that you mentioned earlier that we have had a hard time vacancy rate. So HVAC and plumbing seems to be one of those that are most impacted, right? 25% vacancy rate is pretty high. So what that usually tells me from a market perspective is we're very likely underpaying, and that's compared to our peers both in Florida and even in Central Florida. We should have some wiggle room to go up and still be efficient. And I just want to, when I think especially with HVAC, we know how much our families and students and teachers need to be in a cool room, especially when we come back for summer, and every time we come back to school, it's such a big issue. And I don't want us to have an opportunity to change this if HVAC is not fully staffed and we can do something when it comes to salaries. I just want to have full visibility into how far behind we are, because HVAC is actually very important for everyone. I mean, you never get more calls as a school board member than when HVAC is down in a school. Like, by far, it's one of the things. It's obviously safety first, but second to that, I've never gotten more calls in a short period of time than when HVAC. So 25% vacancy rates definitely worries me. And so if at a later time we could get some information on wage comparison and some of our higher vacancy roles, that would be really helpful.
Certainly, we can compile that data and follow up.
Thank you. And then my next question was on page 22. So it says we invested in the replacement of custodial equipment for 105 schools. What kind of equipment have we been replacing?
So we're talking about, everything from vacuum cleaners all the way up to, the auto scrubbers and the main piece of equipment they're using to clean the hallway floors. I think this year, every auto scrubber that was over 20 years old has now been replaced. So, our focus is just ensuring that, the folks have the right tools to do the job. Because the last thing we want to do is have a variance there where they don't have what they need to clean effectively. So that's been a focus.
is the 105 schools like us just starting to do this work? Or is this the completion of the work? Like, where are we on?
So this work has been ongoing. It's been significantly expanded this year. We were able to get an additional investment this year and really focus on replacing equipment. But this is going to continue to be an annual requirement. Just as equipment ages out. We do get new equipment with new schools and comprehensive projects, but aside from that, there's still an annual replacement requirement. So it's continuing to be an area of focus for us.
Yeah, I would say this year was a significant catch-up year, but the annual requirements will continue.
Got it. And who at the school level, let's say a custodial worker has old equipment and it has not been changed, what's the workflow like for a custodial to get new equipment for material?
So we do have, it's also in our Facilitron work order system where anyone at the school can submit a custodial equipment request. And that can be the lead custodian, that could be somebody in the school office, but that request goes to our custodial team at the district level, who then goes out, evaluates the equipment, and again, depending on the age of the equipment, the condition, they're going to either have that equipment repaired or have it replaced.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think I've visited a couple of schools and talked to some custodial workers, and there was some pretty old stuff in those schools. And I even talked to some folks that were buying their own material because they didn't believe that they could do kind of a good cleaning job without kind of updating their own stuff, and it was taking longer. So I don't know what the workflow is. I don't know if lead custodians are maybe not approving some of these orders, but I did talk to some folks that were just struggling with the stuff they had, equipment that they had on the school level. So maybe we'll take that offline as well. So I just want to get a sense of some of my schools, perhaps.
We'll definitely follow up on the communications piece and make sure that information is available to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. Member Felder.
Thank you, Vice Chair. First of all, I want to thank you all for your report so far. This is a very important aspect of the district and for the responsibilities of the board to make sure that our facilities are up to par and doing what it needs to get done. A couple of things I just want to kind of reiterate. Some of the things that the other board members have mentioned, I just have the same concerns. One of the first things, the HVAC, most of us probably get calls from our schools and complaints about the problem with air. And I was at a hotel and resort breakfast or something, and I sat next to a gentleman who was a CEO of some big hotels here. And I introduced myself as a board member in Orange County, and the very first thing he said to me, he said, "Your HVAC program at OTC." I said, "That's one of my schools." He said, "We look for students from that program because they have excellent training." So in light of finding work or getting people to help and assist, because sometimes you are spread out thin and you get calls and you can't get there fast enough. I just want to reiterate again, you're using the students that we are trained. That did something for me, for that guy to say that they specifically look for students that come out of our schools for HVAC training. So we should not have a delayed issue about getting air and getting things needed in our schools, because we have a facilities group and we have students we are training on a daily basis. So I would hope that, and I'm not saying you're not doing it, but I want to encourage you to continue to work harder at including our students, because they're being trained in this vocation, and that could probably help deal with some of the issues. The other thing I want to ask about on the maintenance, I got a call, and I hope I answered them correctly, about trees in a park where students were gathering for a fight fest or whatever. And I shared with them I think I said it with the superintendent. I said, well, it is not OCPS's responsibility to cut the trees in the park. My suggestion is that you call the city commissioner. I mean, we can't do that. That's not our job. We just cut the trees on our property or whatever we need to do on our property. However, I do want to commend you some time ago, and I think Dr. Williams remembers we had an alligator problem at Washington Shores Elementary, and the grass or something on it was like the curb area, and there was one of my constituents was having a problem that the grass wasn't cut, and it was this thing back and forth whether were we responsible for cutting the grass when board member Salamanca was talking about equipment and whether or not we have the enough equipment to get the grass cut. I think that issue was solved, but again, is it at any time that you all make any kind of, I guess, some collaborative arrangements with the city? Because I know that's not our property in the park, but if there's an area like the grass, you know the area I'm talking about, the curb area, that's still a part of the school, but it's not, you know what I'm talking about, that area like the curb on the grass. When we are cutting the grass, where do we cut in the schools? We cut just on the school property, or do we cut on the curb?
Generally, we only cut the grass on our property, and then in the right-of-way, it's a responsibility of the county or city or whoever the entity is.
Okay, because I was getting a call about a complaint about the grass. So I just needed to know about that. The other comment that I wanted to make is that the replacement of equipment, I think you guys solved it for me, Rory, but like if there was a lawnmower at one of my schools that was stolen. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So was the principal responsible for getting that? Because they were having a hard time. I think we did solve it, but in the event something like that happens again, who is supposed to buy that lawnmower? The facility is supposed to get it, the district, or is that something that the principal should have in their budget?
So generally, all equipment, I don't have a budget for lawn equipment, other types of equipment at the schools. Those budgets are allocated to the schools by the budget department, and so it's the responsibility for the school. Sometimes big purchase requirements happen, and so where they get a certain amount budgeted for every year, they may have a challenge with a big purchase requirement. They simply put a request up through their leadership, because it was a pretty expensive piece of lawn equipment, it was like $20,000.
It was, and the reason
right?
why I'm asking that is because we have an athletic complex, a baseball field, football field, and that grass needs to be cut. We need a lawnmower, but I think the issue was solved, I believe.
Yeah, it's solved. And again, where there's major purchases where an annual budget is difficult to cover that, schools simply submit a request that works its way up to Dr. Armbruster, and they will approve additional funding where appropriate.
All right, thank you. So in closing, I again want to reiterate the HVAC concern with our students. And I think most of us on the board, we agree with the fact that we are training students. We have, this guy said, we have, out of all the people that come in from across the country, what we have at OTC in terms of the HVAC training, he said it was phenomenal. So we should not lack in that department. I know sometimes money may be an issue. It's an issue in every area, but I just want us to reach to our resources, because we have great resources in terms of vocation. But the HVAC, when that guy told me that, I was just, I felt so good that he said, I'm telling you, compared to all over, the guys, the young girls and guys that you train in this department, they are exceptional. So when there's a call, and if you can't get there because you don't have enough people, I'm hoping that you would reach to our resources. so that the principals can get the things done that needs to be done, because we live in Florida. Today it's going to get 96 today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we can definitely follow up with OTC and look for opportunities to expand our partnership through work study and things like that. I will second, the OTC programs are excellent for HVAC, electrical, plumbing. The students are well prepared to enter the workforce. We do have the same challenge where, because those students are so well prepared for that industry that, they're pretty desirable on the job market. So again, we're competing with everybody else, but we will continue to follow with OTC and try to expand that partnership.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Superintendent, I know that you wanted to speak. Would you like to?
Thank you. Just a couple of points that have already been made. Number one, we do compete. It's salaries. I mean, and those are mostly bargained, and there's one pot of money. I don't think I need to say any more about that. We do have an incredible program with OTC, but the vast majority of them get offers with organizations that pay significantly more than what we do. And so that will continue to be a challenge that we need to work through. Mr. Bixler is going to work on some of the asks of the comparison of salaries so that you are able to get a better picture, especially around the Central Florida area. I would ask, Jonathan, could you just speak a little bit more? So let's say at a school, they need more mop heads. What is the process from the talk to us about the custodians' job, what the steps they take, and then the principal, so that we have a better understanding, because they shouldn't be wanting for something as simple as mop heads.
Absolutely. So, and it's a little bit different depending on whether it's a high school or an ancillary site where we're directly managing versus an elementary and middle school. But at the high school and ancillary site, those crew leaders are in communication with our custodial, our area managers. So if they have a need for any equipment or supplies, that's being relayed through their leadership, and then our department is procuring whatever it is they need in terms of supplies, materials to have it delivered to the school. Now at the elementary and middle school level, the schools are budgeted and responsible for procuring the custodial supplies outside of our centralized paper product program. So in those cases, they would work with the school bookkeeper to get those things ordered. But our facilities custodial department has provided a kind of a standardized list of this is equipment and supplies of sufficient quality. So if you need mop heads or you need mop handles, these are the products you should be buying, because we found them to be durable and high quality. And that information is available on the intranet for schools, and I know it's something that we also send out, I believe, annually, and then anytime we have a new principal, that's part of that documentation that we get, that we share. But we will definitely follow up and work on communication this summer to make sure that all schools have that information so that we're getting the materials of sufficient quality.
So I think, not just with the principal, but we have, I'm probably going to use the wrong term, but custodial leads that have several schools.
Yes.
And I think that, let's say, the conversation between that lead and the custodians may yield more information, especially if maybe the request has been made, they're short on money, and they're trying to find a way to trim. And so certainly with that conversation, then maybe that information could get to Rory or even to you to be able to help, because we do have money to help with schools that do not have the dollars to be able to have basic, supplies. And that was just one example. It could be wax for the floor.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I would just, for everybody's benefit, yes, we have 3 custodial areas, just like we have 3 maintenance areas, and there's a manager and a supervisor in those areas, and that's That's who, when I visit with principals, that's who I point them to if they have questions or concerns. That's a good first place to stop, and it's certainly a first place for the head custodian to go when they have questions or need assistance.
Yeah, I just think sometimes they may be put in a hard place, especially if the principal's budget is very tight. They've requested, maybe they've been told, no, wait until July 1 when the new budget rolls in, that they're not going to want to go, against what their principal has stated, but maybe that could be a conversation that takes place with the lead to be able to help alleviate that. And then my last point, to Board Member Vano's point, currently, if there are issues around the school, nearby the school, within the community, they notify their principal, right? That's the process that we've been using. Rory brought up that we're going to be expanding Let's Talk, which would give community members, all stakeholders, more opportunities to give direct feedback and input. But that is currently the process that we have. And so then the principal is made aware, and then they work through getting that resolved if they can, or referring it to the appropriate agency. Sometimes if there's something nearby, it's not our responsibility. If there's a joint use agreement, they try to point them in the right direction.
Thank you, Superintendent. Okay, thank you so much. We are ready to move on.
Thank you for your questions. I will be.
Oh, it's not on my thing anymore. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, Member Gallo, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to say thank you for all the hard work that y'all do, because whenever I go to schools, I inevitably am calling Rory or somebody with an issue that I see at a school, whether it's something internally, it's the HVAC system, it's the grounds, whatever. There may be a huge hole, the sound isn't good in a cafeteria. I'm always walking away with things that I believe need to be improved, and you guys do a fantastic job of responding to me and ensuring that those things get fixed at my school, so I appreciate that. I do have a couple of questions. The grounds, how often do we tend to the grounds at our schools? Is it like once a month, every 2 weeks? Is it vary during the summer versus the winter when maybe it's not needed as much?
So it varies just based on the growing season. So in the summer, it's 3 times a month, and then we back off to 2 times a month in the winter. And during the winter months, we're more focused on things like, putting down new mulch and tree trimming, things like that. Whereas the summer, it's 3 times a month, and all the efforts are just keeping up with the grass.
That's a lot.
So it does vary during the year.
Okay, and what about weeding and does that?
So it should be, should be a comprehensive landscaping service. So we do have herbicide teams that come out and do some treatments for weeds. I think they're on every school, every 45-day schedule. But we should be addressing all the needs, with the caveat that, some things like major tree trimming and major beautification mulch projects are sometimes planned for the winter when we're not in the peak growing season.
And what's the process, for example, if the grounds people don't show up? Because that's happened several times. I've gone to schools, I'm like, this looks awful. And they're like, well, they didn't show up. So what's the process if they don't show up? Do they go through village? How do they get that rectified?
Sure. So we do proactively communicate with the schools. They get kind of a 1 week look ahead. Hey, the crew's going to be at your site next week. But in addition to letting them know, the schools have our contact information, and then we also have in Facilitron, they can submit a work request or call our office. Either way, that obviously the regular maintenance of the schools is something that it's important to us to stay on top of. So if there's anything that's missed, that's something we follow up on specifically to identify, where the breakdown occurred.
And with Facilitron, is that how we communicate back and forth? So say someone puts in a work order and they want to find out the status of the work order, or when somebody will be on their campus to fix the issue? Is that all, they can look at Facilitron and find all that information out?
They can, yeah. So with the current Facilitron system, the submitter has complete visibility, so they can see everything that's been done, the comments made by the technician or whoever's working on the request. It's all part of that system.
And do we train all new like principals and APs on Facilitron? How are they trained?
So we do have some training materials that have been put together by Facilitron that is, as users are added to the system, that's part of that process. But in this year, because it was a new implementation, we had a huge push in August where there was a series of meetings, every week for weeks for school-based staff to come in and get an overview of the system, ask questions, so that they're familiar with the system. But that's another thing that we'll be following up, certainly as we go into the upcoming school year, to make sure the information's out there and that folks are comfortable with the system.
Is it pretty user-friendly?
It is. It's like I said, it's a modern system,
Okay.
and it's much improved from what we were using previously.
Thank you for that. And then if there's a project that's going on at a school, say, for example, we just recently have put covers on all of our playground equipment for our older elementary kids, or any really type of project, how are like delays communicated with the principals? Because I've had a couple of instances where I've been at a school and I'm like, this has been here a week, what's going on? And they're like, I don't know. They haven't told me yet. And then I've had to call Rory and be like, what's going on? My principal doesn't know, when this is going to be finished. And they had to shut down recess. And I don't know about you, but if you've been in elementary school and you have to shut down.
Every project has a project manager. That's really the responsibility of the project manager. And if the project manager hasn't communicated that, then the project manager really hasn't fulfilled their responsibilities. But the school staff should absolutely know who the project manager is. A little bit later in the presentation, we've also made some improvements on that side of the house.
Great.
To where we have a database that we are rolling out that provides easy access to figuring out who the project manager is for a particular project. That'll be available. That'll make that a little bit easier. But that's really the primary responsibility, to provide updates on the status of a project.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then my final question is, I know that we have technology that can show us the temperature in any given school. And we do have 213 schools, so this is a lot. This is a lot of work, and we recognize that. But does it show the humidity? Because sometimes I'm in a school, and the school may be cool, but the humidity is so thick that it just feels sticky. Does it look at the humidity?
It does, particularly on a newer system. Now, there are a handful of older schools that are either currently undergoing a capital renewal project or on the verge of having one start, where we don't have maybe that same visibility into humidity, that maybe we're only seeing humidity on the building level. But certainly all of our newer schools, we have a wide visibility into humidity across the building.
Thank you. And then lastly, I'll say, and this is just kind of like a pipe dream, and I'm just going to throw it out there, John, to manifest it. This is a manifestation. You know what would be fabulous is if all capital projects, including personnel salary, could fall under the capital budget, not the operational budget. Like if all those things were just under, and I know that per law we can't do that, but it would be fabulous if it did, because I think that would solve some of our issues, especially with personnel and with salaries, because that pot, we've been so lucky to have the half-penny sales tax. So I don't know what you need to do, John, to make that happen, but I'm just going to throw it out there and say that would be fabulous if we could just make it all capital and they don't overlap. Thank you.
Wait a minute. When did John become the fairy godfather of?
He's ever legal, it's a legal statute.
All right, John, add it to the list of laws we want changed. Got it? Okay, Member Douglas.
I just want to thank you for the great responsibilities that you have for our school. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing for our school. And I know that we bother you all the time, but you are always so gracious to answer, our call. Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to ask a question. Do we have access to Facilitron to at least see what's going on in our schools as a board member?
Not currently. Right now, we've got the access is internal to the schools and the district, but
Because, I mean, just to, to make sure that we are aware of the problems that we have in our schools and to look at it and to see, the progress that has been done. Is that a possibility that we could have access to Facilitron?
I'll answer that. Currently, that's not in the works. It's not in the scope of what we're going to do. Certainly, staff can go back and look at it. If what the board is looking to do is to be kept abreast of the work orders within their schools, that's also something that currently we are working on that process where schools, the person who's in charge of the facilities at the school is pushing out an email letting them know the status of the work order. So that's certainly something that can also be done maybe on a monthly basis, that the board has provided an itemized list of the work orders and the progress of completion at their schools.
Yes, please. That would be great. That would be great.
I would just say that on average, it's 1,000 work orders a month per
Okay.
board member district.
I mean,
so
just
it's
to
a
look
lot
at
of
our
data
schools
in there, yes.
and just to look at, not that you have accomplished all thousands works every month, but that there's some type of progress going on, because we get calls from for example, I just got another call from West Orange about the light, and I know we talked about that about 2 or 3 months ago. So I was wondering, okay, I thought they were very happy with the auditorium. We talked about this, but then it came back again another way. So I just wanted to just make sure that, everything is ironed out and,
I would just say when something comes back up, I would like to know about it. So you can certainly forward those things to me, and I'll see if I can't get a response because I know there are things that board members periodically bring up to my attention that I'm not aware of, and so it's helpful to me to become aware of those items, and then we can get them addressed.
Madam Vice Chair, may I? Okay.
Thank you.
So literally, it's thousands that would happen. So I think staff will look at that, and maybe it could be through a monthly update. I know Rory does his updates with you quarterly, but maybe we can do something with the executive leader that they meet with you once a month. And if there's particular issues that big projects, because everything that needs to be fixed gets a work order. And so I'm sure that that will not only take up a lot of your email space, but you're going to have a hard time reading through all of those work orders. So we'll work on a process to keep you updated on a monthly basis of the work orders and progress of things that are still open. And then if you have any specific questions that's not covered through that, those can be worked through with the executive leader as well.
Thank you, Superintendent. It could be much like what we get from transportation that just started this year, where they're sending us a monthly recap of our late bus arrivals, just kind of like a summary. It's just helpful for us to have that general information. Thank you. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to make the suggestion that maybe we do it on a board member by board member basis, because I don't want to waste staff's time by giving me that information, because I'm promising you right now I will not read it. So maybe we just do it based on those who desire it and not for everybody, because I would feel bad if staff spending time generating something that I know I'm not going to have the time to look through. Because I do, when I get issues, I do respond to Rory, and we kind of get them fixed if there hasn't been a work order. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Thank you, Member Gallo. Okay, we are now ready to move on.
All right, thank you. I will be followed by Jesma Lambert, who will review new schools and capacity enhancements.
Good morning. I'm Jesma Lambert, and I will be updating you on new schools, capacity enhancement projects, and provide a small update on portables. To satisfy changing educational, sustainability, and safety and security requirements, we elected to develop new prototypes for all grade levels. At the beginning of this fiscal year, we saw the opening of 3 new relief schools that were the first iteration of a new prototype for elementary, middle, and high. These schools increased our permanent school capacity by approximately 5,400 and provided relief for 6 existing overcrowded schools. The number in bracket indicates the school board member district. We will be following this naming convention in the following slides. As previously mentioned, we have successfully used prototypes to more efficiently meet the demands of new schools. The new elementary school prototype we opened this school year is already being reused for 3 new elementary schools, as shown on the slide. The project teams for these projects continue to work through lingering post-pandemic supply chain and labor availability issues. Site 130 is on schedule to be completed this summer in time for the new school year. Site 97 is under construction, and Site 126 is scheduled to start construction early next school month. Both schools are set to open for the 2026-27 school year. In addition to increasing our school capacity and providing relief to overcrowded schools, it is important to consider the financial aspects of these developments. This slide compares the cost per student station of our recent new schools to the limits established by the Florida Department of Education and statewide averages. Our typical school sizes provided an economic solution. Prior to 2025, costs per student station were less than the DOE limits and statewide averages. However, schools opening in 2024 and later experienced significant spikes in construction costs post-COVID, but cost per student station allowances have not been updated. Recognizing this, the state has issued a pause on the requirement to meet these limits through July 1st, 2028. Looking ahead, let's explore the plans for future relief schools to support the growing areas of the county. The Advanced Planning Committee, also known as AP, has compiled a list of their recommendations for new relief schools to open from 2025 to 2035. This list includes 3 elementary schools that are currently underway, as well as 10 additional schools prioritized from 1 to 10. These 10 schools consist of 2 high schools, 2 middle schools, and 6 elementary schools. As illustrated in the table, each relief school is identified with a site identification number. The table also includes the current adopted budget year open date, the new FY26 recommended year open date, the status of the site acquisition, and the schools that will be relieved. Over the past 7 months, the committee has meticulously reviewed extensive data to ensure that our recommendations align with current needs. Consequently, we have adjusted the recommended opening dates for the majority of the schools. These changes are highlighted in red font in the table. Based on the current enrollment projections, all schools in the plan have been recommended for later opening dates. Additionally, 2 schools that were part of our long-range plan, Site 102E4, which will provide relief for Hamlin Elementary, and Site 42M7, which will provide relief for Wolf Lake Middle, have been moved outside the 10-year planning window. Note, however, that relief for Wolf Lake Middle School will initially be provided by Site 82 in 2034, as the plan is to open the Relief Middle School on that campus concurrent with the opening the Relief High School. This bar graph illustrates the number of schools that are underway and plan to open each year from 2025 to 2035. The two bars to the left of the solid black line represent schools that are currently underway and scheduled to open in 2025 and 2026. The bars to the right of the black line represent the 10 recommended new relief schools. There is a noticeable gap between 2027 and 2030, where no new schools are planned to open. This gap reflects the impact of declining enrollment during that period. Overall, the graph shows a planned increase in the number of new schools opening after 2030, following a period of no new openings due to declining enrollment. In addition to providing new relief schools to manage growth, the district also enhances capacity at existing schools through capacity enhancement projects. Before updating you on our active capacity enhancement projects, I'd like to briefly review the criteria for these projects. The Advanced Planning Committee identifies candidates for capacity enhancement when the projected 10-year enrollment need exceeds school capacity and there is no opportunity for relief for a new relief school. These projects provide permanent classroom additions, such as the one shown here at Westridge Middle School, to eliminate long-term portable classroom requirements. When planning each project, we consider opportunities to remodel existing spaces alongside the classroom addition to better meet program needs. In some cases, we increase capacity beyond the current prototype to accommodate the projected enrollment. These are previously funded capacity enhancement projects currently underway and scheduled to complete this year, with the exception of Oak Ridge High School, which will be completed in February of 2027. These projects will eliminate the need for 76 portables. As previously mentioned, the Advanced Planning Committee also recommends schools for capacity enhancement. As with the 10-year capital improvement plan recommendations, the list is prioritized with a recommended completion year. Due to updated enrollment projections, several schools were removed from last year's recommendations and are redlined on the slide. The remaining recommended projects include 3 high schools, Cypress Creek, Dr. Phillips, and University, and 1 middle school, Bridgewater. The additional capacity for Bridgewater will be included in the comprehensive renovation program currently being planned. The elimination of capacity enhancements at the redline schools will not affect any planned comprehensive renovations or capital renewal. By building permanent capacity, we can significantly reduce our reliance on portables, providing a more stable and conducive learning environments for our students. This slide illustrates the reduction of portables over the past 19 years. I would like to highlight 2 key points. First, our building program has been highly successful in reducing the number of portables on our campuses, achieving a 67% reduction over the past 19 years. Second, a significant number of portables are also being planned for removal throughout the district due to a decline in enrollment. Many of these portables, which are district-owned portables, have been shuttered and with plans to demolish them. I will now pause here for any comments or questions regarding new schools, classroom additions, and portables.
Thank you. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to say I appreciate the thoughtfulness that goes into this and our ability to pivot and change when we see declining enrollment. Because the last thing that we want to do is to build new schools that will be half full or within several years won't be able to basically pay for themselves. I have a question on page 31 on the capacity enhancement programs. When we're building the additional schools or the additional classrooms, are the enrollment trends showing that those will still be needed? Like, are we over capacity? Or are those the trends, enrollment trends, showing that we will still need those buildings? And I guess my question is, again, I don't want to build extra classrooms on schools if in 2 years we wouldn't have needed to build that school. I understand we need to get rid of portables, and I'm all for getting rid of portables and putting them in a permanent facility. I still have concerns with our decline in enrollment, and I think it's going to continue to decline. And so I just want to ensure that before we spend a lot of money on construction, that we're confident in our enrollment numbers that they will be there.
Yeah, before, I think Tommy's going to comment there, but before he does, the 6 of the 7 that are under construction, those are already baked in. Those,
Okay.
we have to complete those projects at this point in time. Walls, Jesma showed you the picture of Westridge Middle School, so that one's virtually complete. All these are very close to complete. The question certainly is appropriate for the next slide, but I'll let Tommy talk about enrollment projections at these schools specifically.
So we did remove a lot of the schools that we did have capacity additions at. The ones that we remained, those few we remained, we felt that that the enrollment is increasing or the enrollments would align with enrollments at those schools in the future. And in the case of, for example, Bridgewater, this will help bring the capacity above where their enrollment is now, but we're going to have a shortage of middle school capacity in that area if we don't add some capacity in that area. So yes, the ones we have left, we feel that we will have the enrollment at those schools. And just, for example, at one point, Cypress Creek High School, we had a relief school for that school in our capital plan. And that was a few years ago, and we've subsequently taken it out. So what we have there now is just to help the overcrowding with the capacity addition.
And are we looking at, when we look at building new buildings or building new schools, and as I mentioned before, I appreciate the fact that we're looking at this and we're taking those schools off as enrollment declines because we won't need those relief schools. Are we looking at nearby schools that may have capacity? I know that targeted rezone is not popular. But we also have to be good stewards of the dollars that the public has entrusted us with. So I just want to ensure that even if we have to make some hard decisions, that we're reviewing those hard decisions.
We are going through a process now where we're looking at all those under-enrolled areas that we identified at that planning work session.
Sure.
And we're highlighting areas and looking to where we can rezone. And we're trying to do that timing before we get to where we're actually doing comprehensive renovations at some of these schools. So maybe so that any changes that we can make would dictate kind of how big we build those comprehensives when we get to those. So we are including that, yes.
Yeah, I would also comment, as we showed earlier, there's still parts of the county that are growing. And,
Yes.
and what you see on this list here are schools in the growing areas. Not growing as fast. That's why, as Jesma noted, everything's been pushed back, but the growth is still anticipated. And as you mentioned, we reevaluate this every year, so we'll continually evaluate how that growth is projecting in those particular areas.
I appreciate that. And I know that at Timber Creek High School, we're getting ready to do a comprehensive renovation. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is adding a building. And so I just want to ensure that we've looked 10 years down the road at what that enrollment is going to look like to justify the cost of that building. Because we do have a high school close by that is under-enrolled. And do not come at me, I am not suggesting we rezone anybody from Timber Creek High School. I'm not suggesting it. I'm just saying that we look at trends and to ensure that if we're going to put forth all those dollars into a building, that there's got to be some return on our investment. There's got to be some type of model that we look at to make it financially responsible.
We absolutely, on all these projects, we look at the 10-year enrollment projections as well as what we think the build-out will be in that particular area. So there's the board policy around this talks about looking at the 5 years, but we look at 10 as well.
That's
just
wonderful.
to make sure that there is a long-term requirement for the facility.
And I know Timber Creek is extremely popular. It is also very landlocked and people aren't moving because they can't afford to move. So at some point in time, that school will right-size it. But then if it goes under capacity, you're going to have a whole bunch of people that will do open enrollment for Timber Creek High School. So I'm not really as worried about Timber Creek High School. I know we're not at the point where the board tells you their wish list for facilities, but since you put university on page 32 as enhancement, capacity enhancement recommendations, I'm just going to say they would love a new building with probably a new performing arts center and make it a performing arts area with an orchestra, that would be extremely helpful. So I know we're not there, but I'm just throwing it out there. I'm going to manifest my building for University High School and my gym for Arbor Ridge while I'm on the subject.
So as Jasmine mentioned, we don't go at these projects strictly as a classroom addition project. And that is absolutely some of the things that we look at when we plan these projects, because when you're putting a new building out there, that is the opportunity to address some of the programmatic needs. So we try as best as we can with these capacity enhancement projects to address some of the functional deficiencies that the school has as well, because that's a perfect opportunity to do it when you're building a building.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Gallo. Member Vanos.
Didn't want me to talk. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I had a question on 32. I see when you're talking about the capacity enhancement recommendations, I understand that the schools that are in red will not have capacity enhancement. It says it will not affect their comprehensive renovation. My question is, will it impact the schedule of their renovation, or are they still on track to? For example, Domerick, I see, was recommended to be completed in 2029. Does that change even though they're not up for capacity enhancement?
So we'll be sharing the schedule a little bit later. In some cases, I would say the answer is yes. I think the only one on this slide where that would have been the case is Tildenville. When we did the comprehensive renovation plan, one of the things we factored into that plan, we targeted, and Mike's going to talk about this, but I'll cover it briefly, but we targeted the 25-year anniversary, as I mentioned earlier, for a comprehensive renovation. And then we made adjustments. We made adjustments based upon the air conditioning system and the need for a major renovation of the air conditioning system, but also based upon the need for capacity enhancement. So Bridgewater, for instance, was moved up because of the capacity enhancement requirement. And so those that were adjusted, and I believe this list, it was only Tildenville, but those that were adjusted because of the need for capacity enhancement, we've since gone back to the renovation need and timed it appropriate to that.
Okay, so they may change, but we'll be
So they may
updated.
change,
Okay.
but we'll have the schedule for that. But the schedule will still be based upon really the renovation needs solely because the capacity requirement's gone away.
Okay, perfect. And my last question was on the last page. It was regarding portable. First of all, great job on reducing portable. I think they are not as safe. I think they just take away from our school culture, and they're just kind of unsightly. But my question was actually, when you say you're removing district-owned portables and they've been shuttered with plans to demolish them, I mean, I know we have declining enrollment, but how is that decision made? Is that just the most economical thing? Would there ever be a use for them in the future?
We have two categories of district-owned portables. Some are concretable portables. They're very difficult and expensive to move. And also, unless there's a need for that space, they're also costly to maintain in a good condition. And so it doesn't, generally speaking, we're going to look for permanent space at whatever the new location is. So relocating is very difficult. So there really isn't an alternative other than demolish them to get them off the campus if they're no longer needed. The other category are just very old buildings that are in very, very bad shape. We do offer them for sale when we dispose of them. And we have had a small amount of success in getting buyers for them that avoids our cost of having to demolish them. But that's how, when they're excess to the requirements, they're really not suitable to refurbish at all or put kids back in them, that category.
So it's that second category. Well, I'm just wondering if the first category, I know there's some community organizations that have been on some of our campuses, which now, weren't having an opportunity to stay on them, or other groups. I don't know if there's a use for them to maybe for them to use a portable and be responsible for maintaining it, but just throwing it out there.
I think there are opportunities for partnership in that regard on some of the campuses where we have excess concretables.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I believe we are ready to move on.
Next, Mike Winter will provide an update on capital renovations and initiatives.
Good morning. Excuse me. I'm Mike Winter. As Jessma said, I'll be providing an update on capital renovations, capital renewal, and district-wide capital program initiatives. A significant portion of our capital program involves the upgrade of older facilities to meet current codes, design guidelines, and educational program requirements. These comprehensive needs may be addressed by either renovation or replacement of existing facilities. A Custodial analysis prescribed by the Florida Department of Education is used to determine when replacement is more economical than renovation and remodeling. Comprehensive needs projects can include either full or partial replacement of a campus. When replacement is warranted, we use a current prototype for the replacement when feasible. Sally Ride Elementary, depicted here, provides an example of a comprehensive renovation where a portion of the campus was replaced with an existing prototype while other buildings not meeting the criteria for replacement were renovated. When enrollment projections exceed the existing permanent capacity and real estate and land entitlements allow, permanent capacity may be added as part of a comprehensive needs project. During a comprehensive renovation, all systems with less than 5 years remaining useful life are considered for renovation or replacement. Comprehensive renovations also include a refresh of furniture and equipment. We recently completed the replacement of the Orange Technical College West Campus by building a new facility that also served as a pilot project for the district for the construction and operation of a solar energy system, which was put into production in December 2024. The system is being monitored by the OCPS Sustainability Office, and I provided a summary of their analysis of our last bill, which was March 2025, further in my notes on this slide for your review. Active comprehensive needs projects include the last of the 136 list of projects addressing the comprehensive needs at two main technical college campuses. Construction began in June of 2023 on the replacement of the Orange Technical College East Campus, which will open for the 2025-26 school year. We are currently in design of the comprehensive needs and replacement project for the Orange Technical College South Campus, which will open in 2029. The pre-2003 sales tax list includes 20 schools that were either too new or had been recently renovated at the time the list of 136 was created. This is the first of 2 slides depicting progress on the comprehensive needs projects for these schools, all of which are funded in the current budget. We are in construction on the first 4 schools for this group, with the remaining 6 schools commencing construction within a year. The remaining 10 schools in this group are shown on this slide. All are funded and currently projected to be completed in 2027 and 2028. We anticipate adding additional needed capacity at 2 of these schools, as indicated on the slide, to be accomplished in conjunction with the comprehensive project. We've been able to replace or renovate older schools since first starting the sales tax program in 2003. As mentioned previously, we are completing the original sales tax list of 136 schools with a comprehensive renovation of the OTC South Campus. And we are in the midst of comprehensive renovation of the 20 pre-sales tax list of schools. With extension of the sales surtax and with early sales tax projects nearing the midway mark of our 50-year building life cycle model, we have begun the next round of comprehensive renovations to renew systems and update campuses programmatically. This slide represents the first of the next round of comprehensive renovations. 8 of these were schools that received a limited renovation early in the sales tax program. 2 were advanced due to critical HVAC needs. Planning and selection of A&E and CM teams to deliver these projects is underway. Design will begin later this year with completion in 2029 into early 2030. As Rory mentioned previously, these projects are prioritized based on current needs. Project plans will be modified as the district makes decisions to address our growing list of underutilized schools. This slide represents a continuation of our ongoing comprehensive renovations program. These campuses are forecasted to begin a comprehensive renovation in FY26 through FY35. We will not go through the entire plan. However, I want to highlight some key points. There will be approximately 8 to 10 comprehensive renovations each year. The fiscal year noted in the beginning of planning, the fiscal year noted is the beginning of planning. Construction would begin 2 years later. The campuses underlined and in bold text have some buildings that are at or near 50 years of age. These will be evaluated for replacement as we plan each project. Groups are primarily in line with the 25th birthday since originally built or last renovated. Some are advanced to accommodate critical HVAC or programmatic needs. Some are shifted to accommodate some leveling. We will reevaluate the plan each year based on any changes to campus needs. I also want to point out that Colonial 9th Grade Center has been advanced to the FY26 renewal plan 3 years ahead of its 25th birthday to accommodate consolidation of the 9th grade students within the main campus. Where existing facilities were replaced at a new location as a result of a project on the list of 136, there is an opportunity to repurpose the existing facility for other district needs. We currently have active funded projects for 3 of these sites. The Cherokee School project started design in November 2024 to renovate for a School of Arts and Entertainment program. Construction is scheduled to start in fall 2026 and open in 2028. The Pine Castle School site will start design soon on a new facility for the STEAM Academy, ESE transition, and hospital homebound programs currently located at the former West Orange 9th Grade Center campus. Construction is scheduled to start in summer of 2026 and open in 2027. The former Fern Creek Elementary School has been utilized by the Orlando Gifted Academy since 2018. We just started design last month for a replacement project of the existing facilities that will require the Orlando Gifted Academy to swing to the existing OTC East Campus in Winter Park this summer and remain there until the new school opens in 2028, based on construction starting in winter of 2026 and completing near spring of 2028. The former Gateway School has been utilized by the Orange County Virtual School since 2021. We are proposing a replacement project of the existing facilities and will provide additional details upon budget approval. While the primary focus of the capital program is on school construction and renovation, other major capital program needs exist. 2 currently funded requirements are indicated here. We'll discuss future requirements later in the presentation. As our school capacity in the suburban areas of the county increase, additional transportation facilities are required to reduce operating costs. A new bus compound is needed to support the rapid growth in the west side of the district. We are currently working with Orange County and local jurisdictions to obtain approval to locate a new bus compound in the Coe Winter Garden area. An architect has been selected for this project and design will commence once the site is finalized. Our Northeast Maintenance Department currently operates from a lease facility for which the lease will not be extended past the current term. Plans are to co-locate the department with transportation elements at Hanging Moss. Design recently commenced for a new facility replacing current transportation facilities and providing space for Northeast maintenance. As new or newly renovated facilities won't stay new forever, the board has established and funded a capital renewal program to ensure the availability of funds to maintain the safe and efficient operation of the new replacement and renovated facilities. The program relies on a special renewal fund that is funded at an annual rate of 2.4% of cumulative capital expenditures. Funds for the program are derived exclusively from sales tax, and continuation of the program is dependent upon future renewals of the sales tax program. Unlike comprehensive renovations, which holistically address building and program requirements, the capital renewal program is limited to the renovation and replacement of individual building systems and equipment costing $50,000 or more, similar to the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system replacement depicted on this slide. The primary tool that we use to identify capital renewal requirements is a comprehensive facilities condition assessment. Now I'd like to quickly review some typical capital renewal projects. Shown here is a multi-system renovation of a middle school gymnasium. The before and after aerials highlight the energy efficiency improvements that result from many capital renewal projects. In this case, the project replaced the existing roof with an energy efficient cool roof meeting our current design guideline requirements, and also replaced existing HVAC equipment with new, significantly more efficient units. A significant number of capital renewal projects are accomplished behind the scenes, as the 2 project examples shown here illustrate. These projects reduce maintenance costs and increase reliability of existing systems, but are largely invisible to students and staff. Additional benefits of the two projects shown here include the additional safety features associated with the voice evacuation required with new fire alarm systems and better student and staff comfort and energy savings that are realized through the upgrade of building HVAC system controls. This slide represents 4 examples of previous low-priority elements of capital renewal systems that we are now including as part of the capital renewal program. This affords us the ability to address long-neglected auditorium refresh needs and playground replacements. This year's projects will also replace all carpeting exceeding 15 years of age, except for campuses with upcoming comprehensive renovations, and also brings our interior painting to a 12-year refresh cycle. There were no capital renewal projects during the first 11 years of the sales tax program. In 2014, the capital renewal program began to ramp up, completing 258 projects at 112 sites for a total cost of $363 million from fiscal year 14 through fiscal year 24. Currently, we have 88 active projects at 144 sites with a projected cost of $279 million. As mentioned previously, the capital renewal program is funded solely from a portion of the sales surtax. The current surtax was going to sunset in December 2025, with the last transfer into the capital renewal fund occurring in FY27. However, due to the overwhelming support by Orange County voters in November last year, the surtax has been extended through December 2035. To minimize disruptions to our schools, we are planning the future comprehensive projects to incorporate as much of the capital renewal requirements in the renovation as we can. Of the $2.95 billion of forecasted requirements, we anticipate accomplishing slightly more than $2 billion within the scope of comprehensive projects. Being a governmental entity, the district is exempt from paying sales tax on the purchase of construction materials associated with our projects. Through an owner direct purchase, also known as ODP program, we work with our construction managers and their respective subcontractors on all projects to identify materials that can be purchased directly to take advantage of this exemption and generate sales tax savings. Our target is to directly purchase equipment with costs exceeding 25% of the total project construction cost. As shown here, the direct purchase program has generated over $38 million in sales tax savings since 2011, with a direct purchases average exceeding the goal at 26%. The low savings in 2023 reflects the limited number of projects achieving completion that year. Now I will discuss several district-wide initiatives being accomplished at our schools. We've initiated a program to provide unisex inclusive restrooms in all schools district-wide. This will be a multi-year program beginning with high schools, followed by middle schools, K-8, and elementary schools. We have recently modified our design guideline to provide unisex restrooms in new schools and schools receiving a comprehensive renovation. The goal of our current program is to provide unisex restroom options within each building at our existing campuses until more extensive modifications during a future comprehensive renovation. Codes require a minimum number of gender-specific restrooms, and unisex facilities do not count towards minimum requirements. A pilot project providing at least one unisex restroom for both students and staff per building at 3 high schools is nearing completion. Conversions of restrooms at remaining high schools that require professional architectural services to assess the availability of excess single restrooms will be assessed this year. Conversions will be accomplished in 2026, where excess single-stall restrooms are available. A similar analysis will be performed at middle, K-8, and elementary schools to determine how unisex restrooms can be accommodated. The district has initiated a district-wide program to install vape detection devices in student restrooms at high, middle, and K-8 schools, grades 6 through 8, plus alternative and exceptional educational schools, grades 6 through 12. Approximately 3,000 restrooms will receive tamper-resistant vape detection devices as part of this program. The program will be funded in part with Juul settlement funds. We tested the implementation of vape detectors in select student restrooms at 3 high schools prior to initiating the campus-wide program. We have already purchased devices, in the process of acquiring installation services, and started installations, which are summarized in the table on this slide. Installation priorities were set by district executive leaders. We anticipate completing work in high schools by the beginning of the 25-26 school year. Middle K-8 alternative and exceptional education schools will be completed the following year. We are making progress on the installation of youth lot shade structures at elementary and K-8 schools. The district previously installed shades over tot lots. Installation on youth lots began last July and will be complete at all schools next summer. The current status of these projects are summarized by type of school in the table on this slide. The state of Florida passed House Bill 1473, School Safety Bill, in 2024, resulting in new perimeter and door safety requirements. In response to this new safety requirement, the district has authorized a program to install card readers on exterior doors opening into interior areas of the campus. This will facilitate movement of students between classroom buildings, including gymnasiums and performing arts centers, media center, and the main office. To provide relief to as many schools as possible, as quickly as possible, we are limiting the initial expansion to providing card reader access to one door to each classroom building or floor in the case of exterior stairwells. In addition to hardware, electrical power, and electronics, some door panel replacements will also be required to accomplish the modifications. The estimated requirements for card readers per school are 8 to 13 card readers and 4 to 5 door panels per high school, and 7 to 9 card readers and 4 to 5 door panels per middle school. Initial installations began this year. We expect to complete the enhancements at all high schools before the start of the 2025-26 school year, with middle schools and other secondary schools completing by the end of this calendar year. The current status of these projects are summarized by type of school in the table on this slide. Classrooms and labs are designed with the ability to lock down in the event of an emergency. This project will provide lockdown capability in common areas for all elementary schools district-wide. We are currently completing the initial pilot of this project at 13 schools, which will be completed prior to the new school year. We will then proceed with the remaining elementary schools district-wide with the goal to complete by the 2026 through 27 school year. As previously mentioned, the Facilities Department is managing record high number of projects and sites. This volume has heightened the need for effective communication with school-based staff and stakeholders throughout the district. In an effort to communicate critical project information, the facilities team has developed an active project dashboard which summarizes all projects in planning, design, and construction on a per-campus basis. The list of facilities can be filtered by school district. You can also quickly search by the facility name. And when selecting a facility, the user will also be equipped with key contact information, such as the school's client liaison, maintenance senior manager, and project manager. This concludes my update on capital renovations and initiatives. I'll pause here for questions and discussion on this portion of our presentation, and then we'll be followed by Jad Brewer, who will provide an update on real estate and facilities land planning.
Thank you very much. Member Ferrant.
Thank you. This was a lot of information packed into this one. A lot of great things. Just to start with, like the youth playground shades. Those have been a huge plus. Every school I go to that has them, parents are happy, kids are happy, teachers are happy. I think just with we're in Florida, it's super hot. I think this is exactly what we were wanting last year when we brought this up. So thank you for bringing this. I think, our kids are indoors all day, and when they can get outside and just enjoy the equipment, this is a huge plus. The card readers, I think this was threw all of us for a loop when this passed last year, and so just the lockdown, keeping everything locked down more, and so providing this really, to me, it shows that our schools, that we're hearing them, we see the need. I have principals who are, setting up shop outside in the courtyard, just so they can keep an eye on everything and they can be able to unlock and lock without having to put that extra burden on staff. So to have these card readers, I think, is going to be a huge plus. So I appreciate that as well. But looking at like new facilities, even like renovations, I guess this is all more like renovation type things, capital projects. One thing I would like to see more of is maybe better communication, because a lot of principals that I talk to just state that there's kind of a lack of communication. Maybe there's, I have a couple schools that are having new buildings put in for extended classrooms, providing more classrooms, and when things are taking longer or something's delayed in the process, and they're kind of trying to figure out like what's happening. Maybe a month goes by and there's no word. So just having better communication, I think, would be huge to help with that. I am curious, there's been quite a delay in at least in my district. I know last year when we were starting the school year, we had a couple schools that were like holding our breath if they would open on time. And I believe I'm losing what the word is, but oh my word, what is it called? So the inspectors. So inspectors and all of that is in-house, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so when there is a delay in things like, if I go out to school and they say, well, the inspections were delayed or things like that, is there something happening within the inspection process that causes those delays, or something, are we short-staffed, or is there something that we can do to kind of just help keep things on schedule?
Yeah, and Dr. Razzle may want to comment as well, but generally the inspections are accomplished timely. The issue is more whether or not the contractor is ready, whether there are deficiencies, and every time they're not ready requires a reinspection. Mm-hmm. As has been pointed out a couple of times, our project workload has ballooned over the past couple of years. And I know there have been some additional positions which have been authorized for the building code compliance department to help address that issue. But we're generally not waiting on inspections. It is more an issue with the actual construction that becomes the problem.
Okay.
May I? Yeah. Additionally, we are looking at outsourcing for certain projects. If we get into a situation, let's say that there is a delay and there's a time crunch over the summer, that we would be able to have a dedicated inspector on site that is able to perform all the inspection because they have the multiple licenses. Currently, not all of our inspectors have all of the required licenses and certifications, and so sometimes it may take more of them to get there. Additionally, with the collaboration of both facilities and Mr. Pacheco's BCCCO office, I think I had one too many C's there, they have made adjustments to the system where the general contractors are able to see the permits. They can see and monitor if there are failed inspections, if they've applied for an inspection, so that they are able to go and make sure things are running smoothly, that they're prepared. If they're failing inspections, they can also follow up. Why did it fail? And so working together, they've been able to make some adjustments and corrections that should help us have more personnel and facilitate more timely inspections when needed. But as Mr. Sambini pointed out, if the work isn't done right, they're not going to approve it.
Right, okay, that makes sense. And I definitely get it. I mean, I built my house, so I know how all of it goes, and sometimes things don't run as smoothly and as planned as you're wanting. Another question I had was just with windows into the outside. Just to clarify, like our buildings, are we creating like classrooms that every classroom would have a window to the outside? Or is that not the way it?
Yes. Generally speaking, our designs all provide windows for classrooms outside. I know in a new high school, some of the collaboration spaces do not, but because they're on the inside of the corridor, but generally speaking, yes. Okay. We make sure that all of our classrooms have exterior windows.
Perfect. Okay, good. Because I know I have a few that are just like older buildings that they had, the way it was designed, those inside classrooms for like an elementary school, the kids are indoors and there's no window outside, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Farrat. Member Vanos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to say I really agree with Member Farrat and what she said about the shade structures. This is a top thing I hear from parents in my schools, is just wanting those shade structures over the playground. Since we're giving wish lists today, I would love to see shade extended just over outdoor areas in our school, just because I think it's really important for our kids to be outside. I think it's really important for them to take part in PE and recess outside, and would just love to see even more shade. I'm just throwing it out there. Also wanted to comment on the superintendent. The on-site inspectors, I think, is amazing. I echo a lot of concerns also that Member Farrat shared, just about frustrations I think schools are having with inspectors and kind of getting things done, and things are delayed, then the inspector comes and they see something new, and then it's like the whole process starts over, and it's very, very frustrating. And also just want to shout out to our schools who are undergoing construction now. I know it's a privilege to live in Orange County and to have the ability to have new facilities and have these comprehensive renovations, but it is really, really hard on our teachers and our principals. As much as I know they'll be so happy with the end result, it's AC issues, and it's pipes bursting, and it's chainsaws outside your window, and it's not easy. So thank you for the work you're doing, but just also recognize that it's hard on people in the school. I wanted to, I had a question on page 35. You talk about the Custodial analysis, and it says that it's prescribed by the Florida Department of Education to determine when replacement is more economical than renovating or remodeling. When you say it's prescribed, does that mean that the state makes that determination, or they just have a process that we're supposed to use?
There is a process and a formula that we prepare, and we submit to DOE, and then DOE provides the approval for the demolition. Okay, so do they also fund the things that they're approving or disapproving? No. Okay. No, and generally it's we want to replace that building, which is generally when we do the custodial analysis to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the funding comes from us, although they have the final
Right.
determination on what to do.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Great, thank you for that. My next couple of questions are from page 36, and I know there's a portion of the presentation that talks about sustainability, but just because you have the solar panels on this page, I did just want to ask a couple of questions about it. So I see it says that the solar has not been sufficient to cover the school's energy needs, but then on the next page, you indicate some money that the district has saved. I'm just kind of curious overall, has the installation of the solar panels has the installation of the solar panels been beneficial? Has it been a positive, a negative? Is it something we're looking to do again, or what has the experience been?
Well, as you noted, I will talk a little bit more about sustainability later in the presentation. I would say it is really too soon to tell. In this case, we definitely need to get a year's worth of data because of the impact that the seasons will have on our solar production. I think as a percentage of the overall building, I believe we're probably supporting a higher percentage than we had anticipated. But again, we really need to get a year's worth of data off of the system. We're also, as we final the construction costs, we want to make sure we have an accurate picture of the costs. As I'll mention later on, the cost benefit and return on investment has changed with the significant increases in construction costs, but it's something that we'll continue to evaluate.
Okay, thank you. And just curious about also the contract that we entered into with Duke Energy for this. How long is that contract for? What's the time period?
So we don't have a contract with Duke Energy relative to this facility. We have entered into a district solar farm program with Duke Energy. Unfortunately, I don't know the length of it. I know that our return on investment was approximately 7 or 8 years. It is at scale, it is a much more economical way of participating in renewable energy by doing it that way. And when we fully realize the benefits of that program, it'll be the equivalent of slightly over 100 or slightly over half of our schools will be supported by renewable energy.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, and I know we'll probably talk about this more. So the plan is to incorporate some of these into future buildings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would just comment that where within where we have the support for the solar farm, that's probably not a good candidate because we're already benefiting from renewable energy on those campuses. So it kind of eliminates the number of schools where we could get the greatest benefit from a solar installation.
Okay. Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Vanos. We are ready to move on. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. My name is Jad Brewer. I'm the Facilities Program Director, and I am struggling with my voice. I'm sorry, I don't really normally sound this awesome, but I'm going to try to make it through. My portion of the presentation will provide a brief update on concurrency management and facility use management. I will also provide updates on Vision 2050 and school impact fees. This chart shows the status of concurrency mitigation agreements, or CMAs, with the district. CMAs are required to offset the cost of student stations required as a result of residential development that does not pass a concurrency analysis. CMA payments are credited against school impact fees. FY23 on this chart shows the effect of the post-COVID housing boom. Since FY23, CMAs have decreased as a result of decreased attendance and many residential projects that did not proceed forward, allowing encumbered seats to be released. As the board is aware, legislation in 2019 made the use of capacity enhancement agreements, or CEAs, ineffective as a means of mitigating the impact of new development. The decrease in CMA CEA prepayments is most likely due to many of the CEAs being satisfied as the projects proceeded forward to development. CEA payments should continue to wind down as the remaining inventory of CEAs are satisfied, with CEA payments eventually sunsetting. This slide shows the facility use management actual collections for fiscal years 22, 23, 24, as well as a projection for FY25, along with the current collections to the end of March. As a result of a recent audit by the Internal Audit Department, the real estate team has worked with Facilitron to address findings and tighten up protocols to better protect schools from potential non-payment. As of today, 237 district sites have HVAC scheduling fully automated through Facilitron, requiring no action by district personnel when a facility use reservation is made, and allowing the district full remote control of the HVAC system. Using Facilitron as a vendor has allowed the district to reduce employees while providing greater customer service as well as a standardized process. A continued benefit the district has utilized every hurricane season is the ability to push out mass updates to all registered users via email during closures and emergencies, keeping our renters informed and safe. This has been an invaluable tool during tropical systems. As a reminder, the rental income from a facility rental goes back to the school. The county is currently in the process of adopting Vision 2050, which will be the new comprehensive plan for the development of the county over the next 25 years. The goal of Vision 2050 is to funnel new population towards infill areas identified as the targeted sector, instead of continuing urban sprawl toward the boundaries of the county. Vision 2050 aims to make infill development easier by removing entitlement barriers, as well as eliminating the overwhelming amount of comprehensive plan amendments and rezonings required by the current comprehensive plan. In response to district concerns with entitling residential development in the targeted sector, the county has added in a density activation application process. Properties in the targeted sector will be limited to their Destination 2030 residential entitlements until a density activation application is received by the county. This process provides numerous paths for developers to proceed forward if school capacity is not available for a proposed residential development. Vision 2050 will create challenges the district may have to overcome. Residential development in areas previously not slated for such development makes predicting future school needs more difficult, may require purchase of land in high-cost areas where land is less available, and may require a shift in school design. Vision 2050 is not all bad news, however. Increasing infill development, for example, an old shopping center being replaced with new multifamily housing, may be beneficial to under-enrolled schools in the urban core by increasing student enrollment. The district has recently hired a consultant to evaluate school impact fees charged for new home construction. School impact fee rates were last updated in 2021. This slide shows the current schedule for the school impact fee study. Given the major increases in construction costs as well as the effects of Vision 2050, this impact fee update will be very important to the future of OCPS. County ordinance requires the formation of a school impact fee advisory group. The results of the impact fee advisory group meetings may affect the schedule, but the goal is to provide the results of the study to the school board in the fall of 2025. Facilities has been working with county staff on the issue of school impact fees for affordable housing developments. County ordinance allows for the waiver of school impact fees for affordable housing. At this point in time, the county has been forwarding projects requesting a waiver of school impact fees. County staff has formulated a rubric to determine the amount of impact fee waiver for affordable housing. Most affordable housing developments would qualify for a 50% waiver of impact fees. The maximum anticipated waiver is 75%. County staff will be taking their recommendations to the BCC this summer for approval. One simple way to address requested impact fee waivers for affordable housing is to follow the county recommendation based on their established rubric. However, there may be times when the proportionate share payment is greater than the non-waived impact fee. A proportionate share payment is required for residential development when a proposed development does not pass a concurrency evaluation. A concurrency evaluation looks at encumbered and reserved capacity at the zone schools and also takes into account available capacity at adjacent schools. The proportionate share payment is based on the cost to mitigate student station, and those proportionate share payments are credited towards impact fees. With a waiver of a portion of impact fees, it is possible the proportionate share payment could be higher than the remaining amount of impact fees due. The delta between the proportionate share payment and the impact fees would still need to be paid and would not be credited against impact fees. Another potential option is to waive impact fees for developments in school zones that are under capacity at all levels. This option would encourage development in areas where school capacity is available. Of course, the district would be giving up impact fees that could be needed later should those schools eventually become overcrowded. The final option is to decline to agree to any waiver of impact fees. Additional options the board may consider is waiving impact fees for hotel conversions and requiring priority consideration for units for OCPS employees in exchange for waivers. Most developers have recently agreed to priority consideration. However, some developers have expressed legal concern with such consideration. I'll now pause for comments and discussion.
Thank you, Jad. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam thank you. So on the facilities use management, the Facilitron, do we have different pricing structures on how we charge those who rent our facilities?
Yes.
And are those prices going up?
So, yes, some of them may go up. We have not done that increase yet. A couple years ago, Facilitron did a complete look at what it cost us to actually open that building for everyone to use, and we're trying to better align. Some of those rates are drastically lower than it costs us to operate that facility.
As we look at those rate increases, I would ask that we look hard at some of like the programs that we have on our schools that benefit our students, and hopefully not increase them as much. Like we have different programs where they do sports or clubs that come in and they rent our facilities and we get money. They also give a lot of money back to those schools that have those programs, and the programs inherently benefit the students by keeping the students engaged and at school and excited about being at school. So I would hope when we look at any type of price increases, we kind of put those type of programs in a different pot, because the last thing that I would like to see is students not have access to after school curricula that they do now because someone won't be able to afford the prices of our facilities. Because if you look at over the last 5 years, and I get we've got to cover cost, I understand, but if you look at it, we've raised it significantly, and I just don't want to price out the small business people that are just really in this to engage our students and to provide an opportunity for them to be more involved in school.
We'll consider that, and of course, right now, sports actually gets a lower rate than a lot of other programs.
They do? Okay.
Yes, they're
so
user
maybe we
group
could
4.
keep like sports flat.
Well, I mean, some of the problem is some of our facilities, like we're essentially supplementing those businesses because it's costing the school more than they're actually getting back if they actually looked at it from that
Right.
perspective.
And then look at inside versus outside, because like I know a lot of the sports are done outside, which wouldn't require air. Like they do some practices and stuff outside. So just being cognizant of where they're practicing, what they're renting, and what they're doing. And at the forefront, keep in mind that this is benefiting students. And, you know, we have attendance problems, we have student problems, and we don't want to do anything to take anything away from a student they might enjoy extracurricular wise. That's just my comment on that. I'll talk to the superintendent about it too. Thank you. And then I had a question when we look at the Vision 2050, and I get that we had a charter, the Martinez Doctrine and a charter, and that kind of got messed up by the legislation, and they took away our ability to do things that we've been doing for a very long time. I would like us, I think we could be innovative in how we feel these positions. I think that given the times that we're in and our declining enrollment, if they did a density build and there's not that many kids, we could do a co-op, we could do a micro school. We may just need a room. We may not need an entire school to be put in the middle of downtown. We may be able to say, hey, give us 3 things on the bottom floor, and if we can secure it, then maybe we could do a micro school or a co-op and bring a teacher over. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged school. So I would just encourage us that as we look forward to some of the challenges that we have with Project 2050 and the density and those issues, along with our decline enrollment, it doesn't have to look like it's always looked. It doesn't have to look like a full elementary school. It doesn't have to look like a K through 8. It can look different, and it can look smaller, and it could be sufficient for the needs of that area without a lot of cost to the district and without building a school or overcrowding some of our current schools. So I'm just hoping we're having those conversations as we look within 2050 and being good partners.
Just a couple comments on that. First, I think it's, what we've been able to achieve in our negotiations with the county, where we initiated that density activation process is very critical for us, because when we don't have capacity, it forces the developers to work with us. So we'll be able to work with them on any range of options to provide the capacity. But just getting them to bring us to the table to have a discussion is critically important for us, but it will allow us to have that conversation. The second thing is, we are, although not that level of variety of options, we have engaged an architect to look at an urban school design that would go on a much smaller footprint, that would help facilitate schools within a higher density urban environment.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. So it sounds like those conversations are being had, and I understood that we've got to get them to a place that they'll at least talk to us, that we can look at some of those ideas. The School Impact Fee Committee, when will they be convened? And who will be serving? Like, is this something that the board has to appoint people? How are we going to come up with the committee?
So, per the ordinance, the school board appoints 3 members. The BCC appoints 4, one of which has to represent GOBA. So we'll be bringing to the first June meeting a slate of candidates for your approval,
Okay.
R3.
And then they'll go through the process, and we really think we're going to have it done by the fall of 2025. Because I remember the last impact fee study, it happened, then we paused it, and then it happened again, but it was a lengthy process. It wasn't.
That one was derailed by the 2019.
Yeah.
That was
Legislation,
the big key
yeah.
there. So I'm hoping this one, October may be optimistic, but hopefully we can get there. I kind of think it depends on how the committee reacts to the findings of our consultant.
And is there, per policy, is there any definitions of who has to serve on it? Like, I'm assuming we would want experts from all sides, like you would want a developer on there, like you would want all voices to kind of be represented.
The ordinance doesn't really make that
Okay.
distinction. It's up to the board.
Okay. Well, I would just recommend that we, as a board, ensure that all voices are heard, because you want to hear from all sides, because anything that impacts one group's going to impact another group. So just so that we're cognizant of.
My experience last time was that the county will appoint plenty of people on the development side.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry
I know they
about
did
that.
last time.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then when we waive impact fees for affordable housing, which I'm totally support, I'm hoping, and I think that Dr. Williams has done a good job of this, I'm hoping that we're asking for spaces for our teachers. If we're going to waive those impact fees, and it's added up to millions and millions of dollars so far this year, that we ensure that we are getting spots for our staff, our paraprofessionals, and our teachers to be able to get into some of those affordable housing. That should be a condition. If they want us to waive the fee, we're happy to do it, but we would like something in return, like spots for our employees.
So all the ones you've been approving recently have that, and I guess that's also why we're bringing this forward, is to get board thoughts on the different options, and then should we add those other factors in as well?
Well, I'm a yes. I'm a yes. And then I just want to say that like impact fees for developments that are in school zones that are under capacity, like out in Orange, out in my district, I know the Grove's coming. I can't remember the other community that's being built. My schools are under capacity, all of them. And so I do like the idea of being good partners, and if we don't need those impact fees because we don't need to increase student stations, I'm all for working with developers, especially if they're working for us on affordable housing, like we're being good partners to one another. I agree with that, and I would also consider waiving impact fees for hotel conversions if the hotel conversions are for affordable housing.
Yes, I mean, that would be the only
And we're not
case.
overcrowded. I mean, and we're not overcrowded. Like we have rooms at the schools that they're looking to do that with the hotels. I would support that because I just feel like that means we're being good partners to our community and we're helping those who really need affordable housing attain it. And those impact fees are very expensive and they go into inflating the cost of the home or the apartment. So I'm all for doing whatever we can to make it affordable for people to live, teach, and play in Orange County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gallo. Member Felder.
Thank you. I just have a general kind of question for facilities, because I know one of my schools, Jones High School, is getting great the plans for great renovations, and you've already chosen the group has already made the bid. I just have a general question. You said something on page 58 about the shift in school design. My concern with the company, I think it's Gilbane Company, how are you going to make sure that everything is done to the school that was proposed in the design? In other words, what is your check and balance? Because when it made me think about that when you mentioned that the shift in school design, because if you present and say, this is how the school is, we're going to design this particular area like this, I would expect, and if it's agreed upon, that it'll be just like that. It's just important understand that they promised a lot for small businesses, and I have shared this thought with people in the facilities area, that we have so many students and so many people who in our vocational schools that have the skill, since this is a company outside of Orange County, and I understand they've done quite a bit of work in our district, that they would utilize the companies here and the students that are in our tech schools that know how to do have the skills to assist in that, because I just think that as much as possible so that we can show, I guess, good favor with the community, that when we're doing new comprehensive projects, that we use people within our district that have the ability. So we haven't started yet. I haven't met with them or anything, but I just want you to know that upon starting, that I would like to know what is your check and balance to make sure that whoever the construction company is, you've already chosen, to make sure that what they show as a design is exactly what they're going to do, and they don't deviate from it. And if there's a deviation, is it because you said that the shift in school design because of something in the, I guess, in the area where they're working on? But I want you to know that's on my mind as a board member that represents Jones High. That is in my head, in my mind, that I need a check and balance to make sure they do exactly what they say they're going to do. And what is your check and balance for that? Thank you.
So, I'll start with in terms of the design, so we do go through a design process, and throughout that process, for high schools such as Jones, there are several steps in the process at 30% design, 60% design, and 100% design, where we present. We should be coming up on 30. We haven't been to 30 yet. Where we provide increasing details on what's included in the design, and that's presented to the public. So we have the public out there validating that what we said we were going to do is actually getting into the design. And then during the construction process, certainly we have the architect who is doing weekly visits to the project to confirm that the design is followed. We have our building code office that provides independent inspections to confirm that the design is followed. And then at the end of the project, we have a very extensive closeout process where all of the various stakeholders have an opportunity and are required actually to inspect the project to make sure that stakeholders, the maintenance department, the academic department, the athletic department, all those stakeholders, and for all of our renovation work, obviously the school itself, school staff who provides input to the completion of the project. Correct.
You all always do a great job in trying to help us. I know myself, it's a learning curve for me. It's learning about all of this construction information, but I just want you to know that I've done my research and I'll continue to do it to make sure that we get the best work out of the people who won the bid for whatever schools that they're doing. And I appreciate you giving me that information and understanding my need to know that they will do exactly what they say they were going to do. Thank you.
I just want to take this opportunity to recognize that the facilities division that handles these projects is in District 5 where the talent resides. So.
Oh, man. Really? Okay. Member Vanos.
Thank you,
Madam Chair. I just wanted to follow up on two things that were previously raised. The first one was Member Gallo was asking about the after-school programs that use our facilities. And you'd mentioned that there were different pricing structures. So I just wanted to dig into that a little bit. Is there any different treatment with any, so for example, any after-school program, are they all paying the same rate?
So aftercare at an elementary school, that is contracted through early learning department. So it's a standard contract. The principal picks a provider from a list. Everybody's charged the same amount, and then it's all accounted for. That's completely separate. What we're talking about is people who want to rent the facility. Bob's Volleyball Club.
Right.
They come in and they rent a gym at a high school. They're at a level 4 based on previous rates we've set up. And so if somebody else comes in and rents the same gym and it's just for, I want to have a club meeting, they'll pay a higher rate.
Okay, I'm not trying to, so I'm just going to use a completely random example. Let's just say after school, like the Boy Scouts want to rent a room for their after school program. And let's just say, I don't know, another nonprofit like, I don't know, Girls on the Run wants to rent a room after school. I assume that they have the same rate. Like one doesn't get a lower rate than the other if they're kind of providing the same after school programming.
So Boy Scouts is a separate thing, and they're in user group 1. There's a lot of legislation on Boy Scouts, as we know, that's both state and federal. So they're a completely different animal, but they are given user group 1, which basically means they just pay, if they're after hours, they would pay for custodian. Usually they're not. So they just pay the bare minimum of rates. I mean, it's a complicated rate structure, and there could be different examples. I'm not familiar with the entity you're talking about. We try to draw a line between, there's community groups and other groups. I mean, every single renter that comes to us makes the argument, well, I'm serving kids, I'm serving something. So we do have to draw the line somewhere at that.
Madam Vice Chair, may I? Yeah.
Please.
So when those agreements were looked at a couple of years ago, and they categorized the different organizations, they also looked at if there's any, in kind that they're giving to the school. So there's factors that weigh in, and the principal is able to also share if there are other ways the school is benefiting that would impact the fee that they are paying. Give you an example. We have churches that rent our facilities throughout the district. They pay one fee for setup and takedown, and then there's another fee that they pay for the time that they're actually having the services. We'd be happy to, get more in depth offline, because it's not everybody gets this flat rate. It depends on numerous factors. If they are a nonprofit, it also varies. Like Boy Scouts is probably one in a category or pretty close to being on their own.
Okay, I would appreciate that information and just how it is determined, what rates different people pay, and how that's decided, and what's in statute or what is just our determination.
Right, and it's ultimately our process is ultimately up to the principal. So, I mean, that's another thing. If the group is not contributing and the principal doesn't see that it's useful to the campus, they can deny the rental as well.
Okay, great, thank you. The other area I wanted to ask about was with respect to the impact fees. I wanted to echo Member Gallo's comment about, because I know we did approve some developments for affordable housing that did not reserve spots for OCPS employees. But I definitely support that. If we're going to waive impact fees, I agree. I think we need to have a guaranteed housing for our employees in those buildings. I did note that there were some legal concerns with that, and so I was just curious what that looks like. And if they're being raised by developers, if it's something that you... Hi, John.
Didn't know if you want me to answer that, John, or if you want to handle that, either way.
You take the first shot, and then I'll chime in with anything additional.
Right, so of course there's fair housing concerns always. I mean, first of all, the people still have to meet, any of our employees would have to meet the requirements. So when these people apply, when the developers apply for the affordable housing, there's certain requirements to get the funding, ship loans, and all those other things. So they would, off the bat, they have to meet those requirements. Then on top of that, there's concerns from them. A lot of the loans, a lot of the federal process, it's kind of a gray area whether you can actually do that or not. And some have expressed concern that we had one recently where their loan expressly said from the federal government, said you shall not give any priority to any group whatsoever. So that one, luckily they were only a small amount of waiver needed because they were tearing down an old dilapidated apartment that was let go. So they had a lot of impact fee credits, fortunately for them. So they just said, well, we can't go through the process. We'll just pay the impact fees. There's also low-income housing tax credit concerns that hopefully is being fixed in the legislature right now. But, John, I don't know if I missed anything.
So the other thing that is at issue here is, Jad talked about it, there's some issues with regard to racial disparities and whether or not any Fair Housing Act policies would have a disparate impact on minority communities, meaning it's facially neutral, whatever we do, whatever preferences we set, but it has an effect of disparately impacting minorities. Now, the federal government and the administration has issued an executive order of apparently outlawing the use of disparate impact. I don't know that the courts will agree with said executive order, but that's what's at issue under the Fair Housing Act, is we have to ensure that we're not disproportionately impacting minorities. And what the Fair Housing Act and the Housing and Urban Development, Department of Housing and Urban Development would look at is what the development would look like versus the racial composition of the area at large to see whether or not those look relatively the same or different. It's a very complex question, and we're not quite sure how it's going to be analyzed. We had a little bit better idea how it was going to be analyzed before January 20th of this year, but like a lot of things, it's in flux about how that's going to be analyzed going forward.
Okay, thank you. So that sounds like it's actually more about affordable housing generally than just about, okay, thank you. So kind of a wait and see, it sounds like. And then just the last question I had on the impact fee issue just at large was, are you, in your experience as the real estate attorney, are you aware of any developers that have decided not to move forward with development because of an impact fee?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Thank you.
That's generally baked in. I mean, it gets transferred to the price of the house, honestly, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Vanos. I have a quick question about impact fees, or yes, and the capacity enhancements and all that. When we talk about adjacent capacity, that's in statute, correct? That we have to look at adjacent capacity when we're determining, or it was when we were determining capacity?
I know it's in the ILA, so we've agreed to
When the
that
ILA
process. I'm not 100% sure if it's in the statute offhand.
And, I've always had a concern with that, obviously. I mean, if we are not open to, which I think now we are kind of becoming a little more open to targeted rezoning, because I think we're going to have to, but, when we're not targeting rezonings for these schools that are overcrowded, and the developers are coming into those areas, and we have to approve it because there's adjacent capacity. That's frustrating, and I can understand, and it's frustrating to the community. I hear it a lot in my area because I've got one high school that's overcrowded and one that's severely undercrowded, but we're not rezoning, so the developments, get approved, and then the community's upset because there's more overcrowding. So, do you understand what I'm asking? So
I get it. I mean, the ILA, when it was put back in place in 2011, I believe, so what they contemplated at the time, I'm not saying it's a good idea or the school board would want to do it, was that if you looked at adjacency and you passed the development, that hypothetically the school board could say, okay, development, you're technically just put you in Wekiva high school zone. We were allowed to do that under the ILA.
Okay.
I think that was kind of the setup. We can always obviously go back and see what we could do about that. I mean, we're looking at the ILA needs to be amended to take into account the charter process eventually, whenever the county decides, it's been 5 years, to unabate it.
Yeah.
So that's something else
Everything's kind of like up in limbo right now with all that. I'm bringing it up just because I think it's just something that we have to obviously discuss. And if development, if it doesn't have an impact on the development necessarily because there is room, then I definitely think we have to seriously consider more of the rezoning for some of these schools that are really under capacity, which is something we talked about at our last meeting about that anyway. So that was my only comment on that. I agree with the other comments about the impact fees in that same tone. When we're looking, I would love to figure out a way to encourage developers to move to the areas that the schools that have plenty of room, and give some of these schools that are really overcrowded a break for a little while. So, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, that's all I have comments on that section. I've got member Salamanca up next.
Thank you, Chair. And my question was a bit to the urban development requirements that come with the plan. So what does that look like in terms of work we have to do and cost to us on rethinking what the urban school design looks like? Like, do we have that within our existing prototype? Does this mean working with you?
So we don't have a current prototype that is a more urban design, but we have engaged an architect I think it's Site 106, which is on the plan, is going to go in a more urban area. We're looking at a much smaller piece of property, and so we've engaged an architect to help us look at options for a more urban design for that type of environment.
And what does that entail in terms of what the school looks like when you have a more urban design?
I think mostly it's more vertical. We'll take up less ground space, and that'd be the primary.
But we still meet
primary
the
issue.
basic requirements of the playground, the field, the
Yes.
pavilion.
Yes, we're not relaxing those requirements. Now, again, as we work with developers in the future, hopefully there's, again, opportunities where there's going to be some facilities that we'll be able to use during the day. They can make them available to the community in the meeting with the appropriate arrangements that will facilitate efficient use of the space.
Got it. Yeah, I think to echo Member Gallo's message, I think as we look into this urban school design and the changes coming ahead of time, right? I mean, it's coming either way. I think we just have to start getting creative in how we think about facilities, mixed use, and folks are gonna want to have walkable community schools or micro schools or charter schools. Like we know from other larger cities what parents and families end up being very attracted to. And so to the degree that we can be flexible, creative, and adjust to those needs long-term when it comes to our urban school design, I think that this is a great opportunity for us to lean into. And I would definitely be excited to work with developers and with some of these partners who have a vision for what does the future of urban school design look like in more dense areas. So I just want the district to be good partners in thinking some of that. And we don't know what enrollment looks like if we continue to have more choice. And so if it is more smaller schools, if it is mixed use, I think that all of that should be on the table for sure. So thank you.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. Superintendent, I have you queued in. Was that for earlier? No, it's okay. Member Farran.
I just wanted to touch base on what Member Salamanca was talking about with the urban schools. I agree. I think we really need to be more creative and just be open to creativity. And I don't know if it's just maybe the architects that we choose or how we can do that, but currently, I've really learned a lot from charter school in my district, Cornerstone Charter. The creativity that they've used with the tiny space that they have. They are currently doing renovations or, adding new buildings, we'll say. So they had I think it's third grade through fifth grade building, and they needed a playground, but the new building would basically take away their playground space. So they went down in Miami and talked to a developer, a school that they had there, and basically they did a 3-story building, created it where on top of it, so on the roof is where the playground is. And they put a full netting over the whole place so they can do there's like a mini soccer area, and I don't know how to say that in English, but papi foot would be in Spanish. So like the little mini soccer area, but they're not worried about the ball going over because there's a netting over the whole entire thing. They have the whole space for the playground. So those are the things that I think we need to be very creative and looking at, not feeling like we have to reinvent the wheel, because I think there are schools like we were talking about in Miami and other urban areas that have created this, the idea. And so I think I love the idea of doing maybe some micro schools, that type of thing, and just trying to give parents that choice, because I think that is part of the reason some parents want to leave, is if they have the ability to go somewhere that's a little smaller, they know their child might get a little more one-on-one or help. It's, if we can be creative in that area, I think it will, benefit the parents and students. So just wanted to say that.
So the architect we've engaged with, we selected them really because they brought a portfolio of good examples to include experience in the Miami area. So we've engaged with an architect to kind of bring that expertise to us. And again, Vision 2050. It is a changing environment, obviously, for Orange County, and so it absolutely deserves a different look, and that's what we're engaged in.
Mr. Palmerini.
So one thing I did want to caution, I'm sure members of the board are aware, our school facilities have to comply with something known as the state requirement for educational facilities. And it's a very prescribed course of things that we have to include in our buildings: square footage, number of bathrooms, et cetera, by state statute 1233. Charter schools are exempt from having to follow SREF. So just like the flexibility intended for charters in various areas, they get flexibility in facilities that we are not otherwise entitled to have. So we would like to do some things that would have that kind of flexibility, but we're reined in a lot with the building standards that are imposed under SREF.
Thank you, Mr. Palmerini, for clarifying that. That's what I was thinking as well. And we had that discussion yesterday on our Central Florida School Boards Coalition about advocating, that being one of the areas that we need to, as a coalition, advocate for with the state, that there be some considerable flexibility for us as we enter the future with decreased enrollment. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yeah, I recognize that SREF is an issue. They have made allowances. It's not as tough as it used to be. They have made allowances. Obviously, we're always going to have schools that have that strong SREF intertwined in it, or because we are shelters and we want to ensure that when people come to our shelters that we keep them safe. But here in Orange County, we already have 213 schools that are built to SREF that we could use as shelters. And so I think we could probably really push the legislature on some movement. I mean, we could do district charter schools. There's a way around those SREFs that we can make it work, and maybe we look at putting SREF as a priority on our next legislative agenda to have those conversations in Tallahassee, because I do think that if we come to them with an innovative approach, I believe they will work with us. I think that that's what they want to see in education in Florida, and I think that they would help. I also just wanted to point out, and I know that we're all aware, that there has been legislation that has been sent to the governor and relating to charter schools and taking over our schools and allowing municipalities to create job engines and take over schools. So I understand we need a seat at the table, but we also need to be cognizant that it's easier now than ever for Orange County to say, we'll just do our own school. We'll build our own school. We'll do our own charter school. We'll do our own this. And that's why I think it's imperative that we be good partners and we work with them so that we are the educational leaders in Orange County, and we remain the educational leaders. But that bill, I'm certain, will be signed by the governor. And I'm just afraid that gives them like carte blanche on taking over some of our schools and turning them into charter schools. And so we just need to be I know we have one school that could happen to very quickly. And so I'm looking at you, Vicki. So we just need to be cognizant of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gallo. Superintendent?
Thank you, and thank you, Board Member Gallo, for bringing that up. I think our facilities team has been very much aware of the concerns we have regarding the reduction in enrollment and our need to be more flexible in how we look at educating our children, and not necessarily in that same space that we have built, our beautiful prototypes. Additionally, the new legislation does have the capability to greatly impact us and even our schedule, because as municipalities and other organizations are able to get into the field of education without much red tape, then that could then impact the enrollment in some of our schools and projects. And so we're watching that very closely. We do have one school that could potentially be impacted, and that we will bring to the board for further discussion around what options we may or may not have.
Thank you, Superintendent. All right, Mr. Salabini, we are ready to move on.
Okay, I have a couple more topics for this morning. We are getting to the end, I promise. First, I want to start with is sustainability. And for facilities, the primary sustainability goals orient around our buildings, which are to decrease our energy use on a per square foot basis and improve our school designs to achieve a rating of 3 green globes for new schools built in 2030 or later. I want to briefly discuss our strategy to achieve these. With a reduced number of new schools in our plan, the most significant opportunity is in our existing schools. As part of our comprehensive renovations and the capital renewal program, we routinely upgrade our facilities to our current design guideline. As I'll share in a moment, our efforts appear to be having an impact. We recently utilized high-performance design principles during the design of new prototypes in the OTC West campus to consider alternative technology for building systems. We incorporated several proven technologies suggested by the analyses in our new schools and installed a rooftop solar system, as was mentioned previously, that we recently energized at OTC West. As I'll also share in a moment, the evaluations identified many improvements that would reduce energy consumption but experience a long return on investment. The increase in construction costs has negatively impacted the return on investment of energy conservation measures, including rooftop solar systems, for which the most recent analysis yielded a return on investment of 25 years, exceeding the expected life of the panels. However, we recognize that costs and technologies change, and we will repeat the high-performance design analysis for the next iteration of each prototype, and in the near term for the Orlando Gifted Academy commencing design. This will include an analysis of solar systems that considers newly available government credits. We're also looking forward to collecting a year of data from the solar panel system at OTC West to inform our future designs. We're also pursuing improvements on the operations side. We're currently correcting deficiencies discovered during ESSER-funded recommissioning of 90 air conditioning systems. Our sustainability office regularly monitors operations to discover anomalies. And we're currently working with service providers on a pilot of energy optimization solutions to determine the anticipated return on investment in these solutions, many of which are taking advantage of artificial intelligence as part of their analysis schemes. As I mentioned previously, renovations accomplished through either comprehensive renovations or the cap renewal program frequently address systems impacting our existing energy consumption. This slide highlights a significant number of projects that have been or will be completed over this decade that will positively impact building efficiency. As I'll share in a moment, we believe that we're beginning to see the impact of recent improvements. We utilize the Green Globe standard rating system to evaluate and verify our sustainability efforts. Green Globes is an industry standard rating system that meets the Florida statutes. Since 2015, there have been 75 new schools or comprehensive renovations that were evaluated using the Green Globes rating system. Our current goal is to achieve at least 1 Green Globe. The results shown here indicate that all projects met the goal, with many projects achieving 2 Green Globes. One important note about the data. The results here suggest that we have not significantly improved the sustainability of our schools over the past 10 years, as projects result in a similar number of points. However, what isn't reflected in the results is the changing requirements to achieve a particular rating. Energy codes are frequently updated to higher efficiency standards, and Green Globes awards points based on performance relative to the current standard. So, our buildings have increased in efficiency to comply with the increased requirements of the applicable codes, but that's not resulting in a higher Green Globe rating. This also illustrates the challenge presented by a goal of 3 Green Globes for schools constructed in 2030, which is part of your sustainability plan. The codes under which our 3 new prototypes were constructed have already changed, and efficiency improvements are already required to achieve the same rating, much less achieved a higher result. This summarizes findings for the high-performance design analysis of our new schools. The return on investment for various enhancements compared to our current designs are shown here. The results indicate that our current design provides a cost-effective approach. As mentioned earlier, we continue to evaluate advancements in building technology and their related costs as part of our efforts to reach Sustainability 2030 goal of 3 green globes. And we'll continue to do that as as we repeat our prototypes, we'll repeat the analysis, and we also plan to perform the analysis as part of our design of our Orlando Gifted Academy. As I previously mentioned, recent electricity consumption data suggests that our modernization efforts are having the intended impact. The solid line reflects our electricity consumption per square foot during the period 2019 to 2024, with the dashed line depicting the trend. There is an approximate 8% reduction between 2019 and 2024, representing approximately $5 million of energy savings based upon our current electric bill. The small diamonds are an energy industry measure known as cooling degree days for each year. As air conditioning represents a significant component of our energy bill, our energy consumption is impacted by the average temperatures for the year. Although there is significant variability in cooling degree days, it is noteworthy that the lower energy consumption per square foot in the past 2 years occurred when the cooling requirements were the highest. I'll pause here for questions or discussion regarding our sustainability efforts.
Thank you. I have a question about the solar. So, as you said in the presentation, this is a technology that is constantly changing and updating, and new technologies are always coming out. Are we using any energy consultant, solar consultant company when we, did we use it when we implemented it, but are we going to, when you said you're going to take like a year of data and analyze it, are we using any kind of outsourced company that this is like what they specialize in, solar energy and the capabilities?
So yes to both answers. I would say the analysis that's shown on this slide where the return on investment was slightly more than 25 years, we had a specialty consultant engaged in solar energy that really produced that analysis for us. And so, yes, we've included that in our evaluations. We've also, even with the design of our new schools, we had, as we did that high performance design analysis, we had consultants engaged that were really specialized in that particular industry.
Good. Thank you. Member Vanos.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up with that question on engaging outside consultants on energy, on sustainability generally. So it sounds like you use them for design analysis. Do we engage with a company to like go through like the maintenance and kind of take an assessment of like the energy audits and kind of, I know there's some companies that will kind of do an assessment and then take responsibility kind of for ensuring that we meet our goals. Do we do any of that, or do we do that all in-house?
So we have had several conversations with consultants in that area. Just real quick, my background, 5 years of my work history was doing that particular type of activity before I started doing school district work, so I'm very familiar with the analysis. Our sustainability office is actually in the operations division, which Mr. Pacheco heads up. But we have had several discussions about them, about the need to engage an outside consultant. I think overall, a district this large, we have a lot of expertise, and a lot of the engineers that we work with are engaged in projects that provide reductions in energy use and sustainability. The other thing, in our sustainability office, the district actually employs energy managers that are continually monitoring our systems. And so we have not chosen to engage with an outside consultant. We have had several discussions, and we continue to have discussions about the various offerings. I will say we are working with our controls, our building controls manufacturers and providers on those optimization schemes because they provide opportunities to optimize optimize the actual running of our air conditioning systems, and we believe there's some additional savings there as well.
Got it. And I only ask that. I love when we do things in-house, but I only ask that because I know it's just a specialized area that, you know, maybe we don't have time to fully explore and kind of keep up. So that's the only reason I'm asking about that. But thank you for the answer. And then, so I see that we, use kind of the green globes as a way to determine how sustainable our designs in our schools are. But I had actually a constituent ask me about energy utility intensity, or EUI. So the way that I understand it is that is just more focused on energy usage versus sort of the overall sustainability that the green globes, have. And so, I saw the chart, and I was just wondering, do we have a score, like what our typical building score is for the EUI? Do we know that, or?
We have an overall district average. I'm not. I don't have that at the top of my head. I don't know whether Jennifer is here today, our sustainability office, but so we do have that. We track that. This is actually an overall measure because EUI is essentially it's BTUH per square foot. KWH is a different measure of energy usage, but it's the same thing. It's consumption divided by square foot. So,
okay.
And that's what this is tracking. And so the 2030 goal is to reduce it. Mm-hmm. I don't believe we've set a specific target, but the 23rd goal is to be continually reducing it. And again, this is we can do very little with a new school in terms of impacting the overall energy bill. So attacking that. I think, again, the renovations and the modernization that we're able to do, and to do it smartly. And I went over that list real quickly, but there was a lot of LED lighting replacements, for example, all of the HVAC control improvements that we do, all of those result in a reduction. And it was especially encouraging to see that even though cooling requirements went up, our use still went down on a per square foot basis.
Okay, that's great. And I know you mentioned this earlier, that when we were talking about urban design schools, that you were working with some people in Miami, and I know Miami-Dade County, I know is kind of leading the way in some sustainability efforts. So I was just curious if you ever have conversations with other districts about, some of the decisions that they're, making, and sort of how they're moving forward, just so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, we have different members of the staff that we go to the Council of Great City Schools Conference. Sustainability is a pretty significant topic there. Within Florida, the Florida Educational Facilities Planners Association is another a collection of facility professionals that get together, and sustainability is always a topic. So we're always getting exposed to what other districts are doing in that particular area.
Okay, thank you. That's great to hear. And then my last question is just about OGA. I know you mentioned that several times, and it sounds like, and I may just understand this, are you sort of using that new school like as a pilot for some measures?
So we don't, there is an expense to a high performance design analysis and approach. So we don't do it with every school that we do, particularly on a prototype replacement. But we are, when we have a new design such as OGA, we're going to employ that. And so as I mentioned, our strategy is to try to keep, as technology changes, as price point changes, as efficiency changes, we have to stay up with that so we can find out where the improvements are that's going to help us get to that 3 green globe point in our designs. And so we're going to take advantage of our new school designs, such as OGA, to do an analysis and do another check on the existing technology currently. The other thing that happened is there are some direct credits available from the federal government now that weren't available before. We're actually going to be able to go back on OTC West on that solar panel installation, and we're actually going to get some of those credits back, and we'll be factoring those credits into our analysis and our return on investment calculations for OGA and future schools.
Okay, that's great to hear. I have just one request that I know is not going to fall under you, so lucky you. But can we involve the students at OGA to just be involved with like what the data is coming in and how they can help? You know, they can just be involved in kind of watching how their new school is, where's providing return on investment, kind of what that data is, and just kind of be involved in that process. I feel like that would be a great way to incorporate, the new building with our students and real world application of some issues that are important. So I don't know who that would apply to, but I'm just going to throw it out there.
That would be me. Certainly we can, and in some instances we have engaged student feedback. I believe with the prototypes, we gained feedback from them. We can look at that. What I want to be cautious of, that there's not one more thing that we're putting on the plates of our principals or our teachers. And so if we can find a way to share or keep them involved in a manner that limits the extra work on staff, we'd be happy to do that. And so, great idea.
So I would also share, though, that we have a parent of a couple of students. Actually, I think I'll have 3 students total at OGA. Who that's her specialty. She's already reached out to me, and we're going to include her in the reviews of what we are coming up with for that school.
I love to hear that. Thank you so much.
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
for the public's awareness, because we've been using the term OGA, that stands for Orlando Gifted Academy, and so I want to make sure they know what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Vanos. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All my questions have been answered. Everybody did a fabulous job of asking the questions. So it was brought to my attention, and this is sustainability. This is a little outside my wheelhouse. But OUC opened up 2 solar arrays, I guess, recently, and Advent Health and Universal are using them to help power them. Would we have access to that? Would that be something that we could use to benefit us as we look at sustainability?
I'll have to defer to our sustainability office in operations division, and so we'll get you a response for that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Burr, did you have a comment on that? You looked like you were trying to comment on that one. No?
I guess I'll defer to sustainability, but I believe when I first got here, we looked at it with OUC, and the program wasn't very beneficial to us. But I'll defer to them, obviously. We have, the board should be aware, or at least the members that have been on here, we are engaged with Duke on a similar type of program. But that's what I recall now as well, was that the terms of the OUC program weren't nearly as favorable as the Duke program terms were.
Great information. Okay, we're ready to move on.
Okay, last topic before I summarize our needs, our ancillary facilities. Many ancillary functions are housed in repurposed schools that were previously deemed not economical for renovation. Others, such as those at the John T. Morris Facilities Complex in District 5, where the talent resides, are housed in aging facilities or portables. These provide poor conditions for staff and have higher maintenance and energy costs that adversely impact our operating budget. All have significant, and in some cases, urgent renovation needs. The recent extension of the sales tax securing the funding needed for our schools potentially provides an opportunity to provide long-term solution for support staff. This slide summarizes the need. All of these ancillary functions have significant renovation and remodeling needs, as indicated in the current needs column on the slide. The total is approximately $224 million for these facilities in terms of their renovation needs. We have established the goals listed here in addressing these needs. We want to provide a long-range solution for these aging and outdated facilities that provides for more efficient space utilization and a reduced building footprint with reduced energy consumption and other maintenance and operating costs. We've estimated a minimum of 20% reduction in the building space required through consolidation, with an even greater savings in operations and maintenance cost. Consistent with our facility's goal, we want to provide an efficient and high-quality work environment to support employee satisfaction and retention. The proposed plan is outlined here and envisions the consolidation of the various functions into new facilities at the John T. Morris Facilities Complex while retaining and renovating the existing warehouses there. As part of the plan, we would relocate the Eric Olson Bus Depot to the complex from its current location across John Young Parkway. This co-locates the depot with the fueling facilities already at the complex and allows for relocation of the CDL truck driver training to the OTC South location, allowing for better synergy with the heavy vehicle maintenance programs at OTC South. Overall, we believe that we can provide new facilities and eliminate portables and satisfy long-term future requirements for an amount approximately equal to the renovation and remodeling cost requirements. This slide summarizes the disposition of facilities following consolidation of the ancillary functions discussed here and other projects previously discussed during the presentation. In most cases, the plan is to demolish the vacated facilities following the move to replacement facilities. I'll now turn to summarizing the overall capital needs of the program. The capital needs we've outlined today are summarized in this slide. The delay in new schools and capacity enhancements due to declining enrollment reduces the budget requirement for this portion of the plan when compared to last year. As previously mentioned, we plan to accomplish most of the capital renewal requirements in conjunction with comprehensive projects. Approximately $2 billion of cap renewal need is included in the comprehensive needs amount shown here, reflecting the budget allocation based on our plan for execution of the projects. Overall, we are forecasting a reduction in tenure requirements from last year of approximately $400 million, due largely to delay in the needs for additional capacity. Several other capital funding opportunities, which are not included in the previously summarized needs, are listed here. These can be funded as available budget allows. The projects include replacement of outdated CCTV equipment and upgrade of CCTV studios to current design guidelines, the addition of gymnasiums to Arbor Ridge and Windy Ridge K-8s that, with the exception of Orlando Gifted Academy, for which no gym is planned, are the two remaining K-8 schools without gymnasiums. Its extension of the common area lockdown hardware improvements currently funded at elementary schools to middle, K-8, and high schools. Replacement of classroom door hardware with automatically locking hardware at all schools to ensure classroom doors are locked at all times. Beyond the current card reader program, additional card readers to provide more convenient access to buildings and reduce requirements for master keys. Additional security cameras at schools without an imminent replacement need that don't meet design guideline requirements for the extent of coverage. Replacement of doors with door vision panels larger than the current 3-inch standard that potentially allow classroom access to intruders. Parking lot cameras at high schools. These are now estimated to cost approximately $1 million per school, nearly double our previous estimate. And finally, the RBLC security improvements, which include additional security measures in the boardroom, creation of a Sally Point entrance with canopy at the Amelia Street entrance to the building, and security cameras and emergency response equipment in the garage. Two final points before I conclude this afternoon, both related to the community and economic impact of our program. The local design and construction community is the lifeblood of our program. This slide depicts the number of architectural, engineering, construction management, and trade subcontractors engaged in our program. 348 different firms were engaged in our work at some point over the past year, including many local veteran, minority, and women-owned firms. Although both numbers are significant, so are our program requirements, and additional firms are needed and welcomed. Finally, our program has a significant impact on the local economy, both in terms of employment and economic output. This slide depicts estimated employment and economic output resulting from program expenditures during the period 2014 to 2024. Most significantly, dollars invested in construction labor are returned to the community through the goods and services required to support the labor force, generating a local economic output that exceeds the initial construction labor investment. During the period, our construction expenditures of almost $3 billion generated an average of 3,000 jobs each year, and local economic output estimated to exceed $4.5 billion. This is my last slide and addresses the next steps associated with our capital program. Of course, a significant focus is on execution of previously funded projects in the cap renewal program. Separately, we will collaborate with the Chief Financial Officer on a development of an updated capital budget for board consideration during the budget adoption process. Thank you for your patience. And I'll turn it back over to the superintendent.
You know, I tease you that it's always like a 100-slide presentation. Although it was not, it felt like 200. But great job. Members of the board, while some have chimed in about some of the things they would like on their wish list, if there is anything that has not been addressed as part of the presentation, this is an opportunity for you to let the team know so that they can begin finalizing what our budget is going to look like in the list of projects for the next 10 years.
Thank you, Superintendent. Member Gallo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'd like to know, I would like to know, in your estimation, how quickly we could find the dollars for the Arbor Ridge gymnasium. It says opportunity. If money is available, I'm wondering, I guess I'm asking, when will the money be available and how soon can we start that project?
I think we understand that it's a high priority. I think we really. I have to defer to the budget office. So we have, we have it's more of probably of a cash flow issue than anything else. So we have to worry about the funding requirements of the schools and the projects that we have underway. But I think we hear that it is a priority. And I've been out there, and I would agree. I think not just that, but dealing with the cafeteria expansion is something else that we definitely should try to find money for in next year's budget.
Thank you. Yeah, the cafeteria, so it's a very small cafeteria, and it sounds, you've been out there, it sounds just ricocheted, and I know we've done our best to try to muffle it, but when you're in there, you can't hear anything. So I'm happy to hear that we'll be addressing the cafeteria and the gymnasium. And then I've already mentioned University High. And I know when we made them a magnet school, we did it with the condition that they would have to utilize what they have. But I don't know that any of us thought that it was going to grow as much as it has. And there are so many talented kids. I mean, the university wins applause awards like every year. I can't even remember how many they're up for this year because it's so many. So anything that we could do to really bring the state of the art out to University High, I would appreciate. I know that we've done a lot of redesign to allow the orchestra to be able to hear and the strings, and we provided some other stuff for like dance. It's just they continue to grow, and they're really growing out of the space that they're in. And I would argue that functional equity doesn't exist when you look at universities, Performing Arts Center, and you look at everybody else's. Like, they don't even have like an entryway. They don't even have like a, what's that word? Lobby. Yeah. They don't even, like, you go in and you go in. So when they sell stuff, they're selling it outside. And if it's raining, it's raining. Like, they deserve something better. So that's all. Thank you. I'm sure I'll think of more things that I'll talk to you later. I've got to really put my mind to it.
Thank you, Member Gallo. Member Salamanca?
Well, thank you for this presentation, and I know it could have been 200 more slides, so it's good we have a board meeting today, and you covered all the important parts. I mean, my two priorities, and Rory, Jed, and Superintendent all know that this is, mine is North Lake Park, and I appreciate all the work we've been doing there. North Lake Park is a community school with the YMCA partnership, and this was a unique model that was way before my time, and figuring out how to make that school safe is a top priority, I think, for myself and for the district, and also understanding that an entire community is very much used to using the YMCA facility and having full access to an elementary school, which sometimes keeps me up all night. But I I appreciate all of the staff's work to figure this out and how much we've been working with their community. That being said, I think that will continue to be a conversation in the coming months and into the new school year that the community is keeping an eye out for. The other one is Colonial High School. And so, as folks know, Colonial High School has been 2 campuses. And one of the things that I have prioritized ever since the half penny tax passed was being mindful of the enrollment and the changes that could be coming down the pipeline for enrollment, and having 2 campuses in a school that has been struggling with enrollment. What does it look like to bring it all into potentially just one campus and create that community and that culture of the one campus, as well as just be more adaptive? And so we will be having our first community meeting with Colonial High School about this proposal in the coming week. And we'll be getting a lot of community feedback as well. But I just want to say I appreciate the facilities, flexibility, and working with me in such a kind of big swing of uniting, and Dr. Vasquez as well, because it'll be making a huge difference for a high school that has been struggling with enrollment. And I think as we go into part 2 of that project, budget-wise, I think figuring out how we get that school that has had bits and pieces kind of updated here and there with the PAC, and for it not to look kind of like it is bits and pieces, but more one cohesive, really renovation that we're investing in that school will be really important for me. So those are the 2, which you're not surprised to hear, but I think it's also just an opportunity to update the rest of the board on what good trouble I've been up to.
Thank you, Member Salamanca. Member Vanos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Member Gallo reminded me that I did want to ask about Orlando Gifted Academy, and that it says there's no gym planned for the school. So I was just, but it sounds like I was just kind of wondering about that decision. Was it there was no money for it? Was it wasn't a priority of the school?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Vasquez on that particular issue. So.
Thank you. As some of the board may be aware, when the initial idea of OGA was first discussed, there were going to be no changes or renovations to the campus. They were supposed to function as is. We have since changed that, and with conversations we have had with the principal and the former area superintendent, the idea of having a gymnasium was not something that was a priority at that school. We talked about making it a K-8 with all of the bells and whistles that go with our K-8, the science lab, the orchestra room. But the gymnasium was never part of that conversation, and it still has not been something that's been brought up, and it was not included in the budget.
Thank you for that answer. And I guess so when schools are being, when schools are being designed, is it you're just looking for input from that particular school, or who's there when you make those decisions?
Well, it's a combination of feedback from the community, feedback from the administrator, as well as looking at the site plan and what the programming is going to be at that school. In fact, if my memory serves me correctly, some of the conversations were around having that open space so that if they did want to do things associated with like drones, that usage of space would be put to better use than to build a gymnasium for the school.
It would be very challenging on that site to leave green space for those types of activities and also add a gymnasium. And I think, again, the other thing is we're designing a unique school, a gifted academy that's focused on that particular focused on the needs of those gifted students. It's similar to Cherokee, I think, where we're changing Cherokee, where we won't have a gymnasium with Cherokee, which is a performing arts high school. So we have, I guess another example without a gymnasium.
And I guess I'd be interested to hear maybe more from the community. But I guess one distinction I would make is Cherokee School is, I think, just for high school, right?
Yes.
Okay. Whereas Orlando Gifted Academy is kindergarten through 8th grade, and I guess I'm just want to voice a concern. I mean, that school still has the PE requirement, right?
And they'll have covered play, like Element. They'll have the covered play that we would provide with an elementary school. They'll have the playgrounds with the shade covers for the playground. So we will be providing those requirements.
Okay. I'll follow up on this, but thank you for the information.
I mean, again, it's also smaller than our typical K-8, significantly smaller. So, just in terms of, we would be providing a gymnasium for just a few hundred middle school students. If you look at who we provide gymnasiums for, which is for the middle schools, is where we typically provide gymnasiums. So.
I hear that makes sense. It is a smaller school. I do know in talking to the principal that they don't offer, and maybe this is changing, and if it is, I hope it's changing, that they don't offer sports at that school, which makes me think that it's even more important to have a gymnasium to make sure that our kids kind of have that exposure. But I will follow up with the appropriate people. So thank you so much for the information.
Yes,
Just one more
Superintendent?
point. We've been having conversations about this for several years, and that has never been brought up from the onset, even from the community. And I would welcome additional conversations, but it has not. The idea of having a facility where they would be able to have some of the core experiences. If you've been on the campus, you know that it's spread out. It's not really the best when you look at all of our facilities. And so getting them under one roof for being able to make sure they have what I call the basic necessities that we have in all of our schools is the priority. But I'll go back. It has, in fact, if anything, it's been we don't need the gymnasium. We prefer the open space.
That's what I recall. The other thing is it was a 2 through 5, and as we expanded into the middle school, the focus was on, hey, I need the science labs, is what really the types of facilities that were looked at.
And
as
it's
being
not a
gifted academy.
K-8. I mean, I don't believe it's a K-8. It's
a 2 through 8.
2 through 8.
2 through 8, yes.
Well, and I should have led with, thank you. This school needed a huge update. My kids spent a year there, and I can say from 6 years ago or 7 years ago or 8 years ago, whenever we were back at that school, it needed an update, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Vanos. Member Douglas.
Okay, I haven't spoken much, so I just want to say thank you so much for this incredible amount of work that you have done. You have a great team, and you're doing a great job. And Mr. Jag, I hope you take care of that cold. Thank you for coming and doing this for us. I just also wanted to say thank you so much for considering having a gym at Windy Ridge, K-8, District 4, where we always expect more. Would like you to remember that, okay? And really, we do appreciate you and your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Douglas. Member Ferrant.
Thank you. I'm excited to see some of these updates that are coming. I know I have a couple schools that are getting their renovations. Boone High School is one of them that I'm excited for. I know that's going to come up here in a couple years, but I think there's like 3 buildings there that are the originals from the 1950s. And yes, so the community is definitely excited about that. But I do want to ask, I have had some questions regarding scoreboards, and I don't even know if this is like, I know it's for, this one is for baseball, but, and just, you know, if that's a way that we can provide that for our different programs. I've been told that it's not a requirement for kids to play, but when you show up at the school and maybe another team is coming and there's no scoreboard, it just sort of makes OCPS look like we don't have our act together. And so, while I get it may not be a requirement, it's something that I would love to see. For me, like Cypress Creek High School, that's one of the concerns for the baseball field. And so I think they've been looking at maybe doing like a partnership. I believe Boone did a partnership with a local bank, and the bank provided the scoreboard. But I know parents also are feeling like, why do we have to make this effort to try to go out to try to make that connection? And they feel it should be something that's on the school. I also get that our schools are really for education, not necessarily for the athletics. But if it's something that we could do, I would, we're throwing it out there.
So, just a couple comments. First off, when we build new schools, when we do a comprehensive renovation, baseball, softball, gymnasium, and the stadium, obviously they get scoreboards. So we do provide scoreboards. Scoreboards are treated as a piece of equipment. It is true that in many cases, I think the Boone Gymnasium is actually an example of a case where when we did that project, we were ready to provide the standard, and the community came and said, no, we want a bunch of bells and whistles. And so we did partner with them in contributing the cost of the basic scoreboard, but then they put in the upgraded scoreboard. But the responsibility for maintaining scoreboards falls upon the schools. And it's another one of those, we were just talking about an expensive piece of equipment. When there is a complete failure, really either the school budgets that, they also have their gate receipts that they can use to help offset the cost, or they can submit a request up through their leadership for the additional funding needed. But so I just want to clarify responsibility for scoreboards, which does fall on the schools, but we do provide them as part of our new facilities and as part of the comprehensive renovations as a piece of equipment.
So for instance, with Cypress Creek High School, we're doing a renovation of the baseball field, putting in some new buildings and whatnot. So that would not include then the scoreboard.
That was a limited building renovation. We didn't do, it's not like part of their comprehensive. So without being a comprehensive, we don't bring those types of, again, it's at the comprehensive where we do the furniture and equipment refresh, and that's where we get budget for furniture and equipment refresh as part of the comprehensive.
Okay. And then another thing, I'm excited that one of my schools will be getting the adaptive playground. They have a very large population of special needs students, and so I'm excited for that. I would love to see if I have other schools that have kind of that, bigger population of students with special needs, that they would have their own little area of an adaptive playground where the kids can kind of run around. And the one that's going in, it'll be at Sally Ride. They'll have kind of ramps that the kids can go up. So if they're in a wheelchair, they can go up as if they're, climbing. Instead of climbing the stairs, they can just go right up the ramp. But then other kids can be on the playground, which to me provides that, they're all kind of playing together, and they can feel like they're just one of the kids on the playground, and not something special just for them, to make them feel like singled out, if you will. But they can kind of play together. So if that would be another one, would be the adaptive playgrounds. And that's it for now. But I'm sure other things will come up. But I'm excited for what's to come. Thank you for all that the team did to present today, and look forward to continuing to work together.
Well, the Sally Ride exercise did help us come up with an adaptive PE standard, and so we'll discuss with ESE. We have other ESE cluster sites, so we'll discuss with them where it may be appropriate to provide a similar facility if they don't have something comparable already.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Farrant. I'm going to wrap up quickly here, but I as far as wish lists and things that I hope to continue to see, I'm thrilled to see that you're doing auditorium refreshes. I think that there are numerous auditoriums that I have visited that definitely need some refreshing. Those auditoriums get used a lot by the students within the school, just on a daily basis, even having meetings in there, and the carpets get worn out, and not to mention the equipment that goes outdated or it needs to be updated often. So I'm all for that. I definitely am thrilled with the portable reduction and want to continue to see that as much as we can get kids out of those portables, the better. Just for me, it's a safety thing. We have such high standards for our school buildings now for safety, and the portables, just in my opinion, do not have the same safety requirements. So I would love to see more kids out of those portables as we can. So I appreciate that. And then I'm going to make this really quick because I already had this conversation with the superintendent this week. But as far as we're having to really accentuate our positive programs that we have in our schools. And in doing that, I think some programs would benefit from some facility highlights. As Member Gallo was talking about, University High School is a perfect example. That program is so stellar that when parents go visit that school, they should be walking into an auditorium that was like, wow, right? Wows them. We have programs throughout the district that are like that. Specifically, one of mine, as you know, and you're going to hear about tonight at the board meeting because they are getting highlighted, but the Wekiva Culinary Program, I would love to see that program get the culinary building that we've been talking about. I think having people drive by and be able to see this huge, gorgeous culinary academy at a public high school is a huge selling point. So as we continue to look at all those ways, I would love for us to find ways to accentuate those programs that are doing well so that we can get that publicity and get the community excited about what our public schools can offer, because they really do offer a lot of great things for kids. And like, as you said, the scholarship opportunities these kids are getting from these programs are just mind-blowing. So, we just need to do what we can to make them even better for our kids. I am going to let us wrap up there. I am very impressed. When we were finishing at 1, I wrote down to compliment the board on how quick we got through this huge thing. I thought we did a great job of staying as concise as possible. I was really impressed. This could have been a 6-hour presentation, I think, with the board. But I really do want to thank you, Wari, for your work on this and your team. This is a lot of information and a lot of months of preparation, and we appreciate it so much. Our ambitious building program, as I always tell you whenever we meet in our one-on-ones, it's mind-boggling how much the facilities department does on a daily basis for these schools, how large it is when you look at this $8 billion budget we have for the next 10 years. I mean, it's a lot. So we appreciate you, appreciate all the management you do of this whole system. Thank you to your team for a great presentation today. Thank you. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.